Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We have a great show planned for you tonight. One of your favorites and mine, Samantha Mowat, is here for a talk of everything ET and a rundown on our Zen and Chi as well, which is always a good time. In hour 3, Robin Haynes will be here for the Cryptid Report. And the best part about tonight, we have each and every one of you, including Kitty Caddywhack in the gold medal position, Eternity Eternal with a silver, Tim Mothman and his goatee sharing a bronze medal. All right, moving on down, we have Race Fan, we have Robert Lamoth, we have Attorney at Large, Michael Morris, Tina Smith, nice to have you here. Tina Smith will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. Creepy Pasta, how are you tonight? Exquisite, nice to see you. Luscious Jules, nice to have you here. And Bar Madison, nice to see you again. Mel WD40 is lubing us up for tonight's show because you always want to go into a show about aliens nice and smooth. Thank you, Mel, for lubing us up as we speak. Anil, Fap Nuts, how you guys doing? Nice to have you here. And Skip Tamalu, good morning to you. As we continue on with our roll call, there's Thomas Rock and Cosmic Joe, just another guy named Harry. How are you? Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived, which means we can officially start this show. And moving on down, we have up next, let's take a look here. Well, it is JSCO. How are you? Necessary Dialogue. Thanks for coming on in. Human Carl is here, a great veteran of the United States Air Force. We love our Human Carl around here. Thank you for your service, my friend. Moving on down, let's say hello to, well, let's take a look. Destiny Rocks. Pony Pong has arrived. Pony Pong will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio if you don't mind. To the right of the studio. Mickey G, how are you tonight? Signs of Life, Laura Lobbs and Cody Eiler. Nice to have you all here. Al Garay over on Twitch, 4,000 sit-ups in 7 minutes to warm up for Sammy Moe tonight. Yeah, he is pumped up. He is jacked for tonight's show. Frankie B, J Trueseeker, nice to have you both here. Matthew Goodka, and making her stellar return, gorgeous Kim Jellin. She is flossing her teeth as we speak. Tartar Saucer, how are you? Lisa Smith and Broken Shadow Feather, thanks for coming on in. Walter Kochabinski and Paramarv, nice to have you both here. Scrolling on down, we have I'm Hardcore over on X. Nice to have you here. And who is next on our list? Well, we got to scroll down for that one. And we got to continue to scroll down. It's Susan disguised as Morris tonight. She's like our secret spy. She always has a secret identity. Operation Shutdown, how are you? And let's see here. Ozzy Ange, how are you, beautiful? Hope you're having a great day. And let's get the radio side going, shall we? Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We're about to take on Samantha Mowat as our latest guest on this show. We are in roll call here on our YouTube side as we say hello to Sally Elka, the lovely and talented one. And we scroll on down and say hello next to, well, nobody because we're caught up. Yeah, we're caught up. That's what happens. Mr. Cowley is here. We love Mr. Cowley around here. And who is next? Well, I don't know. Hey, I want to remind all of you, the super chat is open. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. And don't forget to shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. So make sure you check it on out. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can definitely join our membership. We're going to figure some stuff out there for you guys so that way we can have a little bit more fun. But I'm pumped up for Sam. I know you guys are pumped up too. So I'm going to ask you to throw your horns up, everybody. Let's rock.
Are you ready to hear your mystic voice of the night?
It's time to wake up.
He's here. Shush. Be quiet. He's ready for you to listen. Let's point our ears towards the little cabin in the woods, where together, my friends, we own the night. It's time for Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott.
From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We have an amazing show for you tonight. Psychic, intuitive, ET contactee, and good friend Samantha Mowat is here to tell her story about high strangeness out in life. Yes. Then in hour number 3, Swamp Dweller will join us for a creepy story. We'll follow that up with Robin Haynes and the Cryptid Report. All right, let's get right to it. She's been a guest on this show numerous times. Samantha Mowat is a gifted intuitive, lifelong experiencer, and she hails right here from northern British Columbia. Known for her open and honest discussions about extraterrestrials and multidimensional contact through her website, samanthamowat.ca. Sam helps people understand their own awakening journeys, blending grounded spirituality with profound experiences of ET communication, telepathy, and higher consciousness. So with that, let's bring her on in. Samantha Mowat, it is always a pleasure to have you on Spaced Out Radio. How are you, my friend?
I'm good, Dave. I just had to put my crocheting away. That way I wasn't doing that while we're talking.
You know, the things you learn. I've known you for 11 years, and
Yeah.
I didn't know until recently you crocheted.
Yeah, gotta do something during hockey, right? Right?
It still amazes me. And look, I've known you. You were one of the most influential people in my life. You
Thank
really
you.
are. And I know you more on an ET level and on a high strangeness level than
Yeah.
I do on a personal level, because that's not how you and I really connected, you know? And so when I hear things of you being a rugby mom, a hockey mom, a baseball mom, a crocheter, I mean, I'm sitting here thinking, what other secrets does Samantha Mowat have?
I can't cook eggs or pasta. Not at all. Nothing interesting, Dave. All my interesting stuff is ET and psychic related. You know that.
Yeah, that's all you're going to give me, right? That's all you're going to give me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with anything else. Apparently, she has a big slipper collection. I don't know. I don't know. Samantha, for
Okay.
people who may be tuning in for the first time learning about you, you are a
Mhm.
lifelong ET contactee. You are
Yeah.
someone who is in constant contact with an ET species or multiple ET species, I should say. People will look at that, and I'm sure you've had this, and they're like, really? How is this even possible? What has life been like for you?
For the most part, my life has been pretty normal. Now, when I say that, I do want to clarify that, like the rest of you, I'm stuck raking my leaves this time of year. I still have to wake up first in the morning, take my kids to school, all that jazz. But how it's a little bit different is when you go through regular contact, especially when you're dealing with multiple species, it makes things more challenging. Even earlier this month, my son was away at a sleepover. It was just my daughter and I at home. And I woke up in the middle of the night and I had this really frustrating thing happen. It was about 2 o'clock in the morning. I started walking out of my bed because when you deal with regular contact, quite commonly they'll take you at night or they'll tend to put you in an altered state of consciousness. That way they're better able to interact with you to take you from where you're at onto craft without there being any problems. But when I woke up this recent time, Dave, I kind of panicked because if you've ever been sleepwalking and you find yourself suddenly sleepwalking, you're like, where the heck am I going? What's going on? And then you find yourself going and being levitated up into the room and seeing your perfume bottles on the dresser that are elevated. And you start to see your cat raising up off the bed a little bit and things in the room starting to go up. It can scare the crap out of you when you have stuff like that happening, especially when you're not necessarily aware ahead of time of a contact experience happening. Quite commonly, a lot of the beings I work with will show me a blue butterfly, either on like in an ad on TV, or they'll show me like a blue butterfly on someone's t-shirt or something. And I'm like, okay, I've got contact coming, but that's not always the case. And sometimes, Dave, when stuff like that happens, you still have to live your life once your contact experience is done in a very normal way. I can't go to the grocery store and be like, oh my God, I'm having the worst day ever because, I had beings trying to take me out of my house last night. Most people won't be able to understand that. So you have to gauge who you're talking to and how you're talking to them and what you're willing to share.
As you have moved forward in life with these gifts of communication with the
Yeah.
ethereal world,
Mm.
what have you learned about yourself and the people around you who seek your help?
I have found that when it comes to other people, almost everyone on this planet has paranormal experiences to one extent or another. And I've been very fortunate in the sense that the majority of people that have interacted with me, whether it's like, in the PTA or the people I encounter at hockey or the people I encounter in my day to day life, no one ever says anything mean to me when I tell them I work as a clairvoyant, when I tell them I do readings for a living, or I go to UFO conferences, or that I'm writing a book about contact with multidimensionals. I'm very fortunate that way because everyone's been very kind. But what I have come to learn is that my experience with that is very different than that of what the average person goes through. I understand that most people go through ridicule and can deal with a lot of anxiety and stress because they feel like they don't have anyone they can share these things with. And so I've been very lucky in the sense that I've gotten to meet a lot of people who go through contact, and I've had the pleasure of referring them to other people, such as Nisha Johnston, who have experienced your groups for contact or Black Op experiences. I'm really grateful that our community is growing and that more people are starting to understand these things.
Do you like it or have you
Sometimes,
accepted it?
it's my normal. Like, I don't know what life would be like if I didn't have these things, Dave. I don't like when I think about going camping, like taking my family and going to Jasper or going into the woods with you and Merle or anything like that. I expect to have something kind of crazy happen, Sasquatch or ETs or something. Whereas that being my normal, I wonder sometimes what it's like for normal people to be able to, go get a campsite and not worry about their kids trying to walk out of the tent to go have their own contact experiences in the middle of the night when they're in a catatonic state. Or I do envy normal people because I would like the security of knowing that my family is going to be where I leave them, right? And I should explain that to people who don't really understand. When you go through contact, it's very common if they move you into a catatonic state, which is a state where you're almost like in a trance or like a sleepy type zone. And sometimes it can happen in the middle of the day where you can be, bringing a laundry basket up from your laundry room, trying to go bring it upstairs to go do laundry. And you'll find yourself suddenly in a room, you're like, why am I here? Where's the laundry basket? What's going on? And it's like, oh, okay, I'm feeling like a nosebleed coming on. Okay, I just had a contact experience. Or, having your kids go through contact on their own. And I would be laying in bed reading a book at night, and all of a sudden I'd feel a vibrational shift around the house, which is where it feels almost like an intense energy kind of coming down from the ceiling type area. And you'll feel this vibration coming over the home where it has like a different harmonic frequency to it. You can kind of hear it, your ears will start ringing, you'll feel a pressure change around the home. And then seeing my youngest typically getting up out of his bed and then walking across the hallway and trying to walk into a wall to go out on a carpet bag. Oh, honey, no, come here, come see mommy. So stuff like that is what you have to deal with when you go through contact. And same with, Dave, it's honestly really challenging because my pets, I love them. It gave my German Shepherd a sense of overprotection because she would freak out whenever we'd have these things happen. And my Australian Shepherd has a lot of anxiety, especially around things like lights or, reflections, stuff like that, because of orbs coming into the house to come collect us or from beams of light coming down to collect us as well. So it doesn't just impact the humans, it impacts the animals as well.
Since you've been doing this, you do readings for people. You are
Yes.
somebody who does a lot of interaction with people looking for help. How do you draw the line between communication with the spirit world and
Mhm.
communication with the extraterrestrial world, or are they all communicating one of the same?
The spirit world tends to be a bit different. So, what I want for you to look at it is we are living in a multi-dimensional universe, and I want for you to picture that our entire dimension is, or dimensions, pardon me, is a book. I don't have a book nearby, or I'd show you. And each page is a vibrational frequency. We are occupying one page somewhere in the middle. And a lot of the beings, if you're dealing with higher consciousness beings, such as typically ascended masters, archangels, a lot of the angelic realm, those beings are very easy to be in communication with because they have multiple methods of communicating with you quickly and easily and consistently. So, for those of you who use pendulums, runes, tarot cards, if you use any form of divination in that capacity, chances are when you're trying to tap in to gain clarity, you're going to invoke an archangel or Jesus or someone like that. But if you're trying to connect into things such as extraterrestrials and multidimensionals, their dimensional frequency is actually very similar in vibration to our own. Think of the angels as being on like within the first 10 pages of a book, and we're down here around like page 200. We're much denser, much heavier vibration. The ETs are close to us, say like within 20 pages of us, so to speak, a very close vibrational range. So for them to communicate with us is actually relatively easy if we're both at a point where we can communicate clearly. So what does that mean? It means that you already have clear cognizance, the ability to receive downloads of information into the brain. It means that you understand a slight vibrational difference between the different realms that are out there. Because if you're new to all this, you're like, oh my goodness, I want to talk to ETs and I want to know what they're going to say to me and I want to find out all about the universe. If you just think, I want to talk to them, and you don't recognize what their vibration feels like, you could have all sorts of different entities messing with your head, pretending to be ETs. I've had people have those problems with spirit boxes sometimes even with pendulums, sometimes with even channeling. And so, what you need to do is you do have to kind of clear yourself. So, clear auric field, do a slight clearing, put up energy protection, and invite these beings in. And when you're invoking them in, you have to kind of have an awareness of what some of the higher dimensional beings are like so they can verify, yes, you were talking to this person, or yes, you're talking to that type of being. Just act as an intermediary until you've recognized the vibrational frequency. Otherwise, you're likely to get misled, which happens to a lot of people, especially when they're first starting out.
Do you recommend people
Mhm.
trying to get in contact with their own ETs?
If they feel, Dave, let's say you feel really drawn to a particular star system. Chances are you're a star seed from that star system. So there's a good chance you have soul family that is from that area. In the same way that you can feel a strong connection towards where your genetics of your body are from. So for me, just as a parallel example, my family ancestry is more Germanic and Celtic, obviously. And so for me, it would be like when I go to Germany or when I go to anywhere like in the United Kingdom, I tend to feel like, this kind of feels like home. There's that sense of kind of home within it. The same thing can be said for the stars and the different star systems out there. And so if you have a star system that you really resonate with and you feel very connected to, chances are you have previous incarnations there. So I'd recommend if you're going to try to talk to ETs, talk to ones from those star systems because you already have a vibrational frequency that's more in alignment with them than ones that are not necessarily something you resonate with. And so you'll have a better ability to tap into them because they would feel more of a connection to you.
I guess the reason why I ask is during Halloween time, we get a lot
Yeah.
of people trying to communicate with spirits because it's the spooky thing to do. They bring out the
Mhm.
tea leaves, they bring out the Ouija boards, they bring out the
Yeah.
pendulums and everything to try and communicate. But when it comes to
Mhm.
extraterrestrials, you know, I often wonder whether or not people should try and reach out for their ET star seed family or whatever it may be, because it is different and it might open up
Yeah.
many doors that nobody really expects to happen, like all of a sudden being taken.
Yes, it very well can. If you do want to talk to most ETs, a lot of them do prefer you start doing meditation. That way you can clear your mind, that we can actually tap in so they can communicate with you. ETs are very close in vibration to us. So telepathy is a very common form of communication with them. Some of them are able to vocalize as we are using our voices and our throats to be able to make communication. But when you're trying to talk to these beings, I want for you to be aware of the fact that their energy can be pretty intense. And so if you're having something come into your space, let's say you're so excited to talk to the Andromedan beings, you're like, oh my goodness, I love the Andromedas. I love what I've learned about them. I so want to see them. I want to communicate with them. But then when you're like, okay, I'm going to invite them in, I'm going to tap into them, and you ask them every day, hey guys, Andromeda beings, I'd love to talk to you. I'd love to communicate with you. Come see me. Come see me. And then they would kind of monitor you for a while and be like, okay, Dave seems like he's really consistent with this. Yeah, we might go see him. They might come see you in your astral form, but some people have them come see them more in their physical form. And because when they come to see you physically, their vibration is so different than that of what we have here on Earth because we have a very limited bandwidth. And so because most of the people on your show are more empathic, they know what it's like to be in the proximity of someone who they feel safe with or someone they feel anxiety near, or someone that's a good person, bad person, whatever. They kind of feel the spectrum of it. But the ETs, like the Bigfoot, have such a different vibration than what we have that when you are in their presence, especially in a physical capacity, if you suddenly wake up and there's one of those beings in your room, maybe like, oh my God, like way too much, so overwhelming. And so for most people, it is actually easier for them to do things like, the E5 exercises where they start to see the lights across the sky to get used to their vibration that way, or to kind of have them in a group capacity where you're inviting them in to come see you guys and you can have a craft come down a bit lower to hover above you, because that's less intimidating and gives you a chance to kind of get used to them with other people around, the security that comes from having multiple people around you, which can definitely make it so you feel more comfortable encountering them than by yourself in the middle of the night.
Is there a point of pushing it too far?
Well, don't be arrogant with some of the beings that you were trying to invite in. Like, I was on TikTok earlier today and I saw somebody had made a comment about some guy who was, I don't know what he was talking about something, but his people was split, like reptilian split. And granted, we do have a lot of reptilians that are living on Earth the same way that we are, but they're living in human form. And, some people are pretty arrogant. This one guy had made a comment about, oh, reptilians, if I ever encounter one, blah, 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 just being super macho about it. It's like, if you had that being show up in front of you and, showed in its full form, you would probably be, sorry, but having a panic attack. Because for most people, that's extremely intimidating, right? And so you want to be careful when you are dealing with any beings, angels, spirit guides, ETs, the deceased, Bigfoot, whatever. Be kind, be respectful. The same way you want to show respect for all humans that you deal with, you want to show respect to the beings, not in a subservience way, but in a I'm being polite to you, you're being polite to me kind of way. Having healthier boundaries without stepping into arrogance, because I noticed the gentleman that I was reading the comment of earlier, he was stepping into arrogance to the point that it could piss off some beings and they might not react very well to it.
Oh, weird. I never really looked at it that way. I mean,
Well,
it seems a little bit, like I know it's intense. I know
yeah,
it's something that not everybody is prepared for, ET contact. But at some point, like for me, I guess because
yeah,
maybe it's slowed down for me the last couple of years, unless my lightning rod, which is you, is around,
yeah,
right? So I really tend to forget, the impact that it has on you mentally, physically, emotionally, when all of a
mhm,
sudden these things are happening and you feel like you have
yeah.
zero control.
Well, I want you to take into consideration, like, even with all the experiences that I've had with ETs, and I've had about 40 years with them at this point, and I've had awareness of them being in my life since I was in my early teens and had conscious remembrance of it the whole way through type thing. And when I look at that, and I know these beings have a really intense energy, and I know that the different vibrations can be overwhelming. Sometimes, even for me, Dave, with all the experience I've had, it can be it can be really challenging when you find yourself in the middle of an encounter with them, or you step out of your RV or your camper and you see like a being standing right there. It can be a lot when you're not expecting in that moment. It's one thing to see an ET in the middle of the day, but to see them at night, for most people, I find is actually the more overwhelming thing because we are very visual creatures. We have a lot of security when it comes to the daytime, but a lot of these beings prefer to have interactions with us at night because more humans are inside. There's more ability to, conceal themselves if something does go wrong. And it is a bit easier for most of them to deal with us in the evening rather than the daytime. But for humans, we're more nervous at night. So we're almost like a scared puppy, where we're more unpredictable as well.
Yeah, like me when I'm in the
Me too.
forest with you, scared puppy. That's what I am. You know, for people who
Adorable.
don't know, if Samantha Mowat ever asks you to walk into a forest with her, be prepared for crap to hit the fan. It's true. It's totally true. And if you're not
Yeah.
prepared for that, then
Mhm.
don't take the invitation. See, I'm just stupid enough to take it. Every time she says, let's go, I'm like, okay, let's do this. Yeah. And then I get a mild heart attack every time, and then, I act like I'm a 3-year-old getting scared by a big, ugly clown, but, that's just the way it is when Samantha is around. Do you look at yourself as a magnet?
For stuff like this, yes. No matter where I go, it doesn't matter where in the world I travel to, Dave, I have contact. And I think the longest that I'm aware of that I've gone without seeing them is a month. That's it. It doesn't matter where I am in my ovulatory cycle or what I'm at health wise or what's going on mentally, be it really happy and having a good time or feeling depressed and anxious. These beings come see me wherever I am. And it doesn't matter who I'm around. It could be at my parents' houses, it could be at a friend's house, hell, at your house. Like it really does not seem to matter.
No, it doesn't, does it?
No.
You are just an awesome weirdo. That's what you are.
Yeah, in some ways for sure. But, Dave, there are some downsides to dealing with this degree of contact.
We'll get into
Like
that.
when,
We'll
for
get into
me,
that when we return because Samantha Mowat is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. What are the downsides to ET contact? Can you control it? Can you just say, no, I want to stop this game. It's not a ride I want to play on anymore. This is Spaced Out Radio. Samantha's website is samanthamowat.ca. We'll be right back. All right, we're clear.
All good.
I think Merle is listening in somewhere. He said he was going to tune in tonight.
I love Merle. He's so great.
Yeah.
Oh, be happy. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sure if the cat, I decided to call his girlfriend the cat. I'm not
That's
sure if the
cute.
cat will be around, but yeah.
All
Quick
right.
here. Hello to Paramarv. Hello to Jerence Carter and Emperor Penguin. Who else has arrived here? Hippie Deidre. The lovely and talented Kira. How are you? MJ, how are you? We good. We good. The Michael Leger. Very nice.
Very.
Mm-hmm. I saw a beautiful black bear.
Did you? Nice. I love
Yeah,
bears.
my dad was up
Yeah.
and likes driving in the forest.
Mm-hmm.
And so we came around this corner and about 300 yards in front of us, there's this giant black bear on the middle of the road. Like the biggest black bear I've seen. I'm like, oh, don't be a Sasquatch on all fours.
Mm-mm.
And no, it was a bear, acted like a bear, ran like a bear. And, you know, you could see him actually looking at us like, what am I seeing over there? What am I seeing? Dad, get your camera up quick. Get your camera up quick. But Dad wasn't quick enough. And this guy was like, screw this. I'm out of here. I am out of here. So he ran off. It was awesome.
Aw.
The ferret
them.
for you. Julia in the UK, welcome to SOR. Greetings. So polite. So polite.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I've decided I'm going to shut down Flight 21 for this year. I'm
Okay.
putting too much pressure on myself to try and find other people to kind of fill the void.
Yeah.
And it sucks because I don't have any of the film. I don't have anything. So just kind of sucks.
Maybe this is a good thing. Give the energy a chance to have new energy come in as well. Maybe some new beings will show up and we can go check it out in the spring.
Yeah, but the place still wants me there. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
And I'm to be blunt with you. And I've talked to Robin Haynes about this quite a bit. I'm really, really struggling with it. Hi, Nikki in Seattle. I'm really struggling with it.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, in the same way that you had asked for, the investor or the money situation to get better, ask for someone to come through that can help with that, right?
Yeah.
It's always worth asking them. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. But it just kind of sucks because I know Tim loves it. You know.
Yeah.
I know he loves it. And you just kind of have to wait and see.
It's hard. It's really hard waiting.
Especially when you're getting messages from the place that is like, why aren't you here?
Well, you could always bring Mrs. SOR and go do it.
She's not invited.
Never mind.
You know why? It's just, the place doesn't the place that and my feeling on it is 21 doesn't want her there to protect her.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I could see that. Very gentle energy on that one. So, yeah.
Yeah. Because I've thought about that.
Yeah.
And every time I've kind of brought it up, it's like, no. I actually had one person who I wanted to bring out there because I try and clear everybody through the energy there.
Of course.
And she actually came back to me with demands. And I was like, and I said, what do you mean by this? And I've never got a response back. And I was like, that is probably not a good sign.
No, but how awesome is it that she made those demands early before you invest any time into that person?
It was kind of one of these things where I'm going to do things my way and there's no questioning it. And I'm like, there was like a real ego about it, like a dark ego about it. I was
Yeah.
yeah, maybe not.
Not my cup of tea. No, thank
We got
you.
10 seconds, Sam. Big thank you tonight to Creepy Pasta and Cat Chaser for our super chats. We really appreciate your love and support. Join our membership on our YouTube channel, and our store is always open. Here we go. Here we go, the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We appreciate you tuning us on in as Samantha Mowat is our guest. We're going to bring her back here momentarily. But first, we want to remind all of you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, you can always check out our free archives on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Samantha Mowat, intuitive ET contactee, her website, samanthamowat.ca, as she comes on in every few months to give us a lowdown of what it's like to have contact with those from above. Samantha, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you.
Thanks for having me, Dave. Always good to see you.
Right before the break, you talked about how ET contact may not always be very fun. It's not a big piece, love and light type of deal. And I want you to explain that for a little bit.
Sure. So some of the complexities of dealing with ET contact that I don't find are commonly discussed by the people within our industry are a number of things. For instance, if we were to look at something such as hybridization, and we were to look at the impacts of it upon not just relationships where, it can cause stresses within marriage, and for women that are in the hybrid program, a lot of the times they will have pregnancies happen that can't necessarily be explained. They'll start having pregnancy symptoms, swollen breasts, missed periods, nausea coming forward, stuff like that. And if depending upon whether that person's in a relationship or not, doesn't seem to matter to these beings. I've had friends who were completely single, hadn't been in a relationship for months, that were showing signs of pregnancy and would have positive pregnancy tests, like what the frick is happening, but they're going through a hybrid program. And then the ETs would come and collect the fetus and go raised out on craft. And then their period would return. They'd be like, okay, well, that's weird. And they didn't really notice the pattern until it happened several times, which there's that complication of going through contact. As well, when it comes to things like contact, a lot of people, especially before they really have the memories of contact coming forward, have wicked anxiety at night, Dave. So a lot of these people feel relatively secure in the daytime. But when something like the sun goes down, they'll start to feel like they want to close all the curtains and close all the blinds and lock the doors and double check that they've locked them and triple check that they've locked them. They'll go lay in bed at night and have a sense of anxiety as though someone is outside of their window, kind of like on the other side of it, looking in, and they can kind of feel the presence of someone outside every now and then. And one thing I've found with my clients over the years is that for the people who recognize that they have a connection to ETs, they recognize that they have contact, but they don't have all the memories, they just have fragmented memories coming forward. And a lot of times the fragmented memories can come forward in dreams and being kind of triggered through different things you see in the media, such as movies and things like that. These people will go through things such as laying in bed at night. They could be reading a book or doom scrolling, whatever. And they'll have these periods of time, and sometimes they wake up in the middle of the night too, but where they would notice that the house seemed eerily quiet and still. You'll notice that you don't hear the hum of the refrigerator, you don't hear your furnace blowing air, and they'll notice that it feels like there's some sort of energetic change or shift. And when that happens, it's normally because there's a craft outside, there's a being outside that's coming to facilitate a contact experience with you. And for a lot of these people, it can give them a sense of trepidation and anxiety. because the energy is so different, as we discussed previously, where it can be overwhelming, even if it's something that they've had since childhood. Just the sheer difference of it, especially if you're only having this happen once every 3 months or 6 months or twice a year, that can be very overwhelmingly different. And they might have that sense happen, and then they'll start to notice that they'll fall asleep very, very quickly when it doesn't make sense for them to have fallen asleep, but their body gets put into that altered state. And then they'll wake up the next day and be like, oh my goodness, why am I so stressed? What's going on? And so there's that type of aspect of contact as well. Alternatively, when it comes to the downsides of contact, finding yourself in ridiculous locations. Like when I was a kid, my parents found me in all sorts of places. I was a ridiculous sleepwalker, and for years they made fun of like, ha ha, Sam sleepwalks. And now they're like, oh, you were having contact. And we didn't realize, even though they had contact, even though they knew their parents had contact, they didn't put it together that, oh, our daughter's sleepwalking and finding her at the front door or outside on the balcony or finding me in the backyard, stuff like that was a sign of the ETs taking me and putting me back and then having me walk back in towards the house. So there's always that aspect of it as well.
Do they still catch you off guard? Like, are you used to it, even though you live this every day? Do you ever
Yeah,
get used to it?
not entirely. To an extent, like if it's in the middle of the daytime and, like I'm sitting on the couch and I'm crocheting or I'm watching a show with my daughter type thing, and, we see a being out of the corner of our eyes, seeing it like walking from the kitchen kind of down the hallway type thing for a moment, that kind of stuff you get used to. It's like, okay, yeah, I saw gray, not a big deal. Because they do flit in and out from their dimensions into ours and back. They do that quite often. It's often checking how you're doing. Sometimes it kind of throws me off, like if I'm walking past a bedroom and the door is open and then there's a mantis that's standing there, like an 8 foot tall praying mantis. See it inside my reading room can sometimes freak me out for a second, like, did I just see something? And it's like, okay, I did see that, not a big deal. Okay, don't stress, it's not a human, it's a mantis. So sometimes it can kind of startle you. But in the daytime, those ones don't bug me. But when it's the middle of the night, yeah, those ones can sometimes still scare the flying turtle out of me too. So, hmm,
You've had the good, the bad, the ugly when it comes to this. And so
yeah,
many people, when they investigate contact, they
yeah,
come and they fall on one of two sides. Either it's all peace, love, and light, or it is all absolute fear, pain, suffering. There
yeah.
never seems to be an in between with people who have an opinion on this subject. Where do you fall?
I would like to be blunt about one thing first. Anyone who says that anything is all good or all bad is so thoroughly uneducated that I would question the validity of all of their information simply based upon the naivety of their perspective. It does not matter if you look at angels, or spirit guides or the deceased or the reptilians, the Pleiadians, the Greys, anything. There are good and bad within every single species, just as much variation as there is within humanity. And so when I look at certain people, such as Stephen Greer, who are like, oh yeah, they're all peace, love, and light, I'm like, oh my God, honey, who paid you? Because no, they're not. And then when I look at some of the people who look at, a lot of religious people look at ETs, especially the Greys or the reptilians, they're like, they're all demons, they're all bad. I'm like, well, if they're demons, why have they healed me of all these things? If they're all bad, how come they, they took away my son's allergies and they got rid of all these problems that I had? And what, so from to me, a lot of their perspectives when it's so cut and dry is coming from a place of either agenda or naivety.
Would you wish it upon anybody?
Well,
Would
Dave,
you
you'd like
like,
more
would you be one
contact?
of those people out
Hmm.
there? Because, I've created a beef here recently, and not with anybody in particular, but with the whole movement of the whole peace, love, light crowd.
Yeah.
Where the new age, hippie way, and I mean that in
Mhm.
a polite way, of spirituality, where you have so many people jumping on the bandwagon of
Yeah.
trying to fix their chakras and fix who they are, what they're all about,
Mhm.
and it's like dipping your foot in that on that first step in a pool.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I think, you know, people like yourself or even people like myself, we just decided to jump right in the deep end. You know, you did it as an infant child because that's what you were born into. I did it
Mm-hmm.
at 38 years old because our friend Pascal says, "How far down the rabbit hole do you want to go?" And I
Yeah.
said, "All the way."
Yeah.
And so I'm just curious, you know, for people who are, say, in that more peace, love, and light new age way of thinking, are they prepared spiritually for any of this type of contact to happen?
I think they're in the more early stages of development when it comes to that. Dave, you got to remember, like, when it comes to all of our contact, even as a collective, think of it like a circle. Every single point of it has to be touched at one point or another, like this ball of yarn. People in peace, love, and light, they're starting from right here. You and I are starting from over there. Neither one is actually right or wrong. It's just a matter of which part of the thread are you reaching before you end up getting to the center of it. And you do have to look at the people that are in the peace, love, and light mentality and realize that a lot of them are going towards that aspect to break away from the religious programming that we all have heavily indoctrinated into us from the time we're born. Whether we're conscious of it or not, each of our countries has typically an affiliation towards one religion or another. And if that's what helps them to break from the programming, is to start with the peace, love, and light aspect and yoga and meditation and incense and whatever, then whatever, it's just a point of where they're starting on their journey, and eventually they're going to get into some of the shadow work and recognize the complexity of multidimensional experiences. And those people have experiences at one point or another, shadow beings or jinn or entity possession. We all have to have these things happen at one point or another. It might not be this lifetime, but it's a necessary part of our evolution of consciousness.
What about the message that they're being taught?
Well, it depends on who they're talking to. When you're looking at just peace, love, and light, and you're assuming that all of these beings have the best intentions for you, you're placing yourself in an incredibly naive position. Like, it doesn't even matter with the ETs that I've dealt with for many, many years. I still question them when they're abducting me. I still ask them things. I will still push those boundaries and level of comfort with them. And if they're a being that actually has my highest good in mind, it will answer some of my questions. It will do its best to give me an age appropriate slash consciousness appropriate understanding of what's happening. And I don't mean to sound condescending, but when you're dealing with some of these beings, you have to be aware that many of them do have their own agendas, even with the various kinds of grays in their hybridization program. There's a lot of different hybrid programs out there and a lot of different grays doing hybridizations. That's just one species that is doing hybridizations with the people on our planet and many other planets. But when we're looking at it, if we're looking at it from just a peace, love, and light perspective, it's naive because you're like, oh yeah, it's okay. My soul made an agreement that I'm going to do this and that it's okay. But that doesn't change the fact that sometimes you're being raped. That doesn't change the fact that some of these beings will have you breeding with other humans that have a high percentage of ETDNA who can be abusive, or having you breeding with certain ETs that are using you for sex or for loosh or for the purpose of making these different hybrid children. It's not always as cut and dry as these people want to think it is. And only looking at the positive of it is very naive.
No, I would agree with that. You know, where does free will come into play with all of this? Because a lot of people, and I remember when I first started out,
Yeah,
my naivety about it was I have
yeah.
free will to say yes or no. But that doesn't seem to play out with the ETs very well.
But I mean, it also doesn't really play out with the angelic beings very well either when you look at history. So when I say that all these beings have their own agendas, I really do believe that. Some of the ETs, especially if they have a connection to you. So Dave, with some of the beings that I work with, some of the Palladians, some of the Reptilians, some of the Greys, which are three of the being groups that I deal with the most, the ones that are like family to me, that are very kind to me, are kind to me because I've had previous incarnations with them. They know who my soul is outside of this body. They do healings on me to help deal with some of the effects of the other groups that have contacted me, offsetting what these guys have done to make it so I'm able to have a healthy, happy-ish existence here on this planet this time around. So yes, we do have free will. Yes, you can be kind. And, with some of the beings I interact with, it's my free will choice to hug the ones that I really enjoy seeing. It's my free will choice to hit one in the head with a shovel or to use energy as a form of weapon or to tell them I don't want to deal with this and to punch them, stuff like that. Those are all free will expressions within contact. All of them are valid based upon who's abducting me and what's going on.
With that being said,
Yeah.
are have they, for the most part, are the ETs cooperative with understanding your plight, your feelings, or what matters to you, or does it matter on the species on who you're communicating with or being taken by?
It matters greatly by the species that you're interacting with and what they deem you're capable of handling and what they deem that you're capable of doing to them if they don't have you in a more altered state of consciousness. Because of how I'm not very proud of this, but because of how aggressive I've been to a couple of the species over the last 5 years, just frustration with some of the other stuff that has happened to me, I've been physically altercational with some of these species. And so they will keep me in a more altered state where it's more pleasant and have certain people that they know I react well with being present on craft the same time I am to have a more pleasant interaction with me, whether it's to get information or to provide healing or for hybridization. When they try to change out one of my primary hybridization mates, one that I prefer to breed with because we have good genetics together, he is a very kind person to me, he would never hurt me, and try to replace him with someone else. I was not very kind on craft, and I started hurting one of the grays that was trying to change my breeding partner for someone else. And so now they've removed the other ones and kept me with just one breeding partner.
Well, that's fun. That's fun. Monogamous aliens. What can you say?
Mm,
But I mean, I
yeah.
joke about that, but I mean, the hybridization program is something that a lot of people really do not understand.
No.
Why are they doing it? What is the purpose?
Once again, depends on the group. In the case of some varieties of greys, they've actually bred the emotional capacity out of their species and they're trying to put that back in because it better allows you to connect to source and better allows you to have better psychic abilities, healing capabilities, the ability to interpret information from other things that you encounter, plants, other species, so on and so forth. So it actually makes it so they are able to be more connected by breeding with a species such as ourselves that have such a broad emotional range. And because of humans, our humanity is able to, have all these emotional capacities. We're all empathic, especially compared to a lot of these beings. We have such a strong degree of emotional variation that it's also represented in our sensitivity to pick up on those emotions. And so they are breeding with us to help breed that back into them. Some of the species enjoy breeding with us because, well, we're humans, we're fun to have sex with. Sorry if I don't know if you need the time for that word because I wasn't sure if I'm allowed to say that one, but that is part of it as well. Other species, like some of the reptilians, do breed with humans because they like to have human ET hybrids on this planet in positions of power and influence, whether it's to interact with other humans or leading governments, so on and so forth. So it does depend upon the species, Dave, as to what their objective is and what they choose to do.
What's your objective as somebody who's a contactee and can understand this?
I recognize that my family's been bred for hundreds of years on both sides. I've been told the reason why we go through this is because we have a greater capacity for psychic interaction and have the better ability to communicate. So I know that's why we are bred and why we go through this. But part of me, I love it and I hate it. I hate the fact that my kids are teenagers and I know that they're going to start in the breeding programs within the next 5 years, and that their relationships that they have in this lifetime are going to be greatly dictated by the ETs who will arrange orchestrated events, synchronicities, and stuff like that to put people into their lives that my children have known from the time that they were kids, they will have had contact with these other humans. And so they'll have a sense of recognition with them and breed and make children on Earth and children on other planets for that very reason, because the ETs like the genetics of person A and person B. With person A and person B, if we can't get them to have kids, then we'll replace person B with person C. And they do stuff like that. So it does make me a bit sad that my children won't be able to have full free will with who they choose to be with in this lifetime. But I recognize that that is something that can be a bit of a take, like something that we have removed from us as far as free will is concerned in one sense. But it does come with a lot of benefits. When we start to develop cancer, they removed cancer from our bodies. When I was pre-diabetic, they removed diabetes from my body. They fixed my vision countless times. I've had bones heal faster than they're supposed to. Same with a lot of internal body issues, migraines, stuff like that, fast-acting infections. They come, they take care of it. So there are good things and horrible things that come with contact to this extent, Dave.
We have 3.5 minutes to go before we have to go to break at the
Yeah.
top of the hour. Samantha Mowat is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. How does someone know if they are having contact? Let's say you, like somebody in our audience is like, how do I know if this is happening to me?
Well, if you're having stuff like that happen, there's going to be signs. Most common ones would be bleed through memories. So a bleed through memory is when you go to sleep at night and let's say you're having a dream, you will have things that have happened in your past. Your subconscious doesn't necessarily know what your subconscious knows you've experienced, but your conscious mind doesn't have the recollection of. And so that can look like having dreams of UFOs over and over, or having dreams of being in your childhood bedroom and a light cascading through and having beings come walk through. Other things that will happen when you go through these things is you'll wake up with odd marks on your body. You might have, triangular shaped red marks showing up suddenly, or really unexplained scars that weren't there one day and that are there the next. You might find that if you're like me, you'll have go to bed with something really, really bad, like bronchitis or COVID or something like that. And you'll wake up the next day and you'll be like, a world's better. And it'll be after you have a funny, that's what you think is a funny dream. But it's where these beings actually come in and put the appearance of your grandmother over top of them, or they'll put up a picture of a funny doctor or something like that, where you think, oh, that's a peculiar looking doctor. Why are they wearing scrubs like it's the 1950s? They don't even wear scrubs like that anymore. But you'll have these dreams come through where it's they will put these screen memories over top. When you're having these things happen, you'll notice that you have an increase in psychic abilities going on, precognition, lucid dreaming, claircognizance, a lot of weird paranormal stuff happening, where you'll see shadow people out of the corner of your eye, or you'll start to have objects that are there one moment and gone the next. There's a lot of really weird things that happen when you have contact like this, and you might have a very strong reaction to particular types of ET faces. So let's say you're having contact with the Greys and you don't know that you're having contact with the Greys. When you see their image appear on a screen, you might have a sense of your stomach pushing down, that really heavy feeling, or you might have a feeling of reaching out, oh, I feel such a strong connection. This body feels such a strong connection. So things like that will happen as well if you have contact but don't have the strong memory of it coming forward yet.
If someone is waking up in the middle of the night,
Mm-hmm.
because we got about a minute to go,
Yeah.
and they don't know what's going on, why they're waking up, but they notice, say, between 1:30 and 4 a.m., they're waking up every night. Does this mean something's happening if there's a pattern reoccurring?
Sometimes, yes. If that happens to you, I want you to stop for a moment, notice the noises around you. Can you hear any buzzing? Do you have a sense of if you go to sleep with a fan on, is the fan still on? Listen for the hum of your refrigerator. Listen for the sounds of the world when you're going to sleep. Because if you notice that the house is silent and eerily silent, then it's often an indication that you have a craft over top of your home and a bubble's been placed around your home because a contact experience is about to occur. And in particular, if you have the sensation of somebody being outside of your home and moving around, or there being somebody in your home, and almost like a sense of like freeze, like, oh my goodness, I can sense something, but I'm too afraid to move.
SamanthaMowat.ca is her website. We have Samantha Mowat here for another hour on Spaced Out Radio. So get comfortable because we're going to take some audience questions in hour 2. This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott. All right, we are clear. Human Carl, I am no longer in the Katy Perry game anymore. I've retired.
What's the Katy Perry game?
I have a crush, and apparently I met her
Aw,
in craft before.
that's exciting. Isn't she
Well,
dating Justin?
she started dating Justin Trudeau, so
Yeah,
I'm out. She can't have me anymore. You know, I mean, you
that's
can have
fair.
all of this, or you can have all of that. You know, so I'm going to put you in the green room, and we'll be right back. Okay. Okay. So we'll be right back, everybody. right. I am back. I know you can't see me because I'm wearing camouflage, but let's go here. Samantha, how's the knitting
Oh, good. Just
or crocheting?
chicken
Pardon
away.
me.
It's all good. Same thing. Just using up some extra yarn. So,
Trucker Andrew, we're going to start with that question right there. Wham bam. Thank you, ma'am. How are you? Welcome to SOR Chat.
yeah.
And who else do we have? And
Should be fun. I like that question. That'll be a good one.
that will be a good one. Good night, lovely Kira. Carrie Doyle, how are you?
Mhm.
All right. Big thank you tonight to Creepypasta, Cat Chaser, and Trucker Andrew for the super chats. We greatly appreciate your love and support. And
Yeah.
you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag, so make sure you check it on out. And got like 10 seconds.
Putting it away.
3 seconds.
Yeah.
There we go. Here we go with the second hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Our good friend Samantha Mowat is our guest tonight. Everything about extraterrestrials, contact, and you name it. We're going to get right to it momentarily. But first, we want to say hello to everyone tuning us in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Cataphysical. Cataphysical is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Samantha Mowat is a lifelong ET contactee. She's an intuitive. She helps people learn about their contact, what it's like, the good, the bad, and the not so good. Her website is samanthamowat.ca. Sam, we always appreciate when you're here. Thank you for coming on in.
Thanks for having me, Dave. It's always fun.
We're going to get to some audience questions here right off the bat. Andrew, great trucker, lives down in Nebraska, sees me the last couple of years at the Nebraska Bigfoot Conference. So I appreciate that. He is asking, Samantha, is it possible to have a group of space girlfriends like blue Pleiadian hybrid women that have blue scars all over and they visit me when I sleep?
It could very well happen, Andrew. I have not had the pleasure of having a group of female Pleiadians that were blue like that have interactions with me in that capacity, in a romantic capacity. But one thing I've learned about the Pleiadians, and I'm not sure if this is very common knowledge, but they are very sexual beings. For them, sex is very different than how we have it here on Earth, in the sense that they don't have the same rigid, almost morality and perspectives that we have here. They have a very common perspective of, I am with someone as long as we're both happy, and as soon as we're not happy, we go our own separate ways, which I think is a much healthier way of doing it than the till death do we part method of Earth. So yes, you could very well be having physical sexual encounters with them on craft, especially in the astral form. If you're finding that you're waking up after having more intimate experiences with them, very possible. As we discussed earlier, a lot of ETs do actually enjoy having sex with humans. As to why that is, I'm not entirely sure, but it is a very common theme that I've seen across numerous species.
What is the interest that these beings seem to have with human sexuality?
Well, when you look at the Palladiums, they are very empathically aligned. They are beings that read into the energetic frequency being emitted by someone at any given time. And they are more like energetic on like a psychic level, focused. So what that means is when they're having sex with someone, because we as Earth humans have a very broad range of emotional capabilities, when you're having sex, all of your chakras tend to light up. We have energy flowing from our root chakra going up through to the top as the Kundalini rises. And so, in the case of Andrew, as what he's discussing here, could I be having sex with a group of hybrid Pleiadian women? Yes, you could very well be, and they might have an interest in having sex with you if you're able to activate their Kundalini differently than what the men and women of their own species are able to do. So it's almost like, think of it like going to Amsterdam. People, when they go to Amsterdam, they go to the red light district, they're wanting to have something a little different, a little more flavorful, a little not quite as conventional as what they're choosing to do at home. So I would say it's more in alignment with that, where it's a fun sexual experience because they don't have the same sexual stigmas that we do. And so in this situation, I would assume it's because that Andrew is more likely activating some of their chakras in a different way on an energetic level. So it's more exciting and different. Sorry if that was vulgar.
In other words, Andrew, you're a real stud up in
Nice.
space there. Skip to Malou over in Denmark is asking, why the blue butterflies for you when you know they're coming around?
I tried to choose something that I didn't ever see. So before 2013, 2014, I would have ETs showing up in the most random times. One of my daughter's first 20 words was alien, little toddler of 1.5, 2 years old, standing in her crib, pointing at the window, screaming alien. I'm like, well, for sake, if you guys are going to come along, I need to know when you're coming, like to visit. That way I've got those warnings in place. And so for me, I'm like, okay, what am I going to choose for symbol? Butterfly. Okay, let's choose a specific color. Ooh, blue, that's pretty. I never see blue butterflies, and now I see them everywhere. I should have chose $100 bills. That would have been a much smarter way to do it. Probably would enjoy that a bit more.
Well, that feeling.
Right?
I know that feeling. Mine to this day
Yeah.
is still Pink Floyd.
Yeah.
They sing, "Is There Anybody Out There?"
Ooh, that's a good one.
Mhm.
Great song.
Yeah. Every
Yeah.
time that comes around, I'm like, oh, here we go. Here we go. Tim and I actually had that happen one day when we were out at Flight 21, when we were driving in. All of a sudden,
Oh.
it's like, is there anybody out there? And I'm like, oh God, are we gonna have missing time? Nothing
Mhm.
happened, thank goodness. But
Yeah.
I could tell that by the big tree,
Yeah.
there was some ET presence out there at Flight.
Nice.
You know the tree I'm talking about.
I do.
Yes, that gorgeous, big, giant tree. Oh, I love
Mhm.
that tree. I do.
Yeah.
I do. I tell it it's beautiful all the time.
Makes sense. It's a
Hmm.
great tree.
Let's move over to another question. Let's go to Paramarv. Some
Mhm.
experiencers are told by the ETs they are entitled to take them because they agreed to it before birth and have a contract. Is there any way to verify this? Do aliens ever cheat on contracts?
Some, yes. Just because it is an ET doesn't mean it's always honest. And one thing I've come to learn is you can go to an Akashic record reader and see, because there are people that do stuff like that. Or you can learn how to access your own Akashic records. I'm sure there's tons of free tutorials online on how to do that. And look at your own lifetime agreements and see if you do have contracts in place with certain beings and what your agreements are with them. So yes, these can happen before you're born. A lot of people do choose to incarnate into bloodlines that have these situations happen. That was part of mine for clearing a bunch of karma and learning how to have more, in a sense, humility and having a certain degree of vulnerability. In my last lifetime, I wasn't necessarily the nicest person. I turned a blind eye to a lot of horrible things. And because of that, I had to incarnate as a woman, and a woman who would be not necessarily, what's a nice way to put it? I went from being a very stuffy, serious person in my last lifetime to having to go the exact opposite direction to learn respect for people on both sides. So we do choose who we're incarnating as. We do choose a lot of the things that happen to us, but some beings, in particular, if they feel as though they can get away with it. If they are self-serving, they will take advantage of you. And that's why we do have some people who will have ET contact once, and it will be very traumatic and very overwhelming, and the beings will take advantage of them and exploit them by taking genetic material, physically assaulting them, sometimes hurting them, putting them back in horrible places, or, in dangerous situations where they have burn marks and stuff like that from craft.
All right, let's move on to another question. Let's go to Paramarv again. You mentioned ETs like having hybrids in positions of power. What about claims of shape-shifting ETs in power, as David Icke claims? How likely and or prevalent is that?
There are ETs living amongst us in every single city on this planet. Any decent sized city, you're going to find ETs that are living as humans. Some that are not shape shifting, that look very similar to you and I, very close to passing. Some of them look slightly odd. You're like, oh, it's a bit of an odd looking human, but you don't really think too much of it. But in regards to placing hybrids into positions of power, Ike's claims are correct about that. A lot of the people that are in the ruling families, the Rothschilds, Rockefellers, the Kennedys, people like that, the royal families, they are hybrids, in particular, mostly reptilian hybrids. And it's not necessarily as terrifying as a lot of people think it is. A lot of people, especially if you are someone who looks at eyes a lot when people are talking, you will notice people that are hybrids or have a high capacity of hybrid genetics will have their eyes change. Sometimes my eyes, which you can't really tell in this lighting, but my eyes are actually hazel. Sometimes they will go black. Sometimes you'll notice more of the green. Sometimes they look like they're red. Sometimes they look like they have slits. And it depends. And so if you are paying attention and you are looking at people online, you will see their eyes fluctuate when they have hybrid genetics or ET genetics. It is actually very common. And that's why also when you hear like Paramar, when you're looking at people and you're hearing like, let's say even interest in things like murder or murder mysteries, and you start to pay attention to people and they're talking about who escaped someone who is very abusive, and they'll talk about their eyes going black, like completely black. They could have like crystal blue eyes or green eyes or hazel eyes or whatever. But when these entities sometimes step forward, if people have entity attachments, then the entity can take control over the human's body. And when that entity takes more of the control, the eyes can go completely black. And it's like the personality shut off. But with some of the hybridization, depending upon the genetics, certain hybrid forms are more susceptible to having multidimensional influence. So what that means is within the chakra system, at the solar plexus, the sacral, and the root, so the bottom three chakras, red, orange, and yellow, we're looking at that, and those are where you're likely to have energy attachments connecting in onto the auric field. So if you are someone who is born to a position of power in a bloodline family, you are going to have a more higher susceptibility of implantation of an entity into the root chakra, the sacral chakra, and the solar plexus, because you will have these multidimensional entities with you having a high percentage of the ET DNA, such as reptilian DNA, having a pure reptilian able to tap in to help gain control and take control over you. Now, this can come in forms where it's like they're taking control for a short while and then they step back depending upon what needs to happen. It's a lot more complex than people understand. Part of it does relate to Satanism. Dave's asked me in the past to try to keep it light rather than going to the super dark and heavy stuff. So trying my best. But that is part of it as well. Certain genetics are more likely to be influenced. Paramarv, if you met someone who had no hybrid DNA in them, and they were to have, let's say, the Greys come into their home to try to have an abduction with them, the Greys would probably have a harder time tapping into that person's telepathic thought stream and energetic field because that person doesn't contain Grey DNA. And the reason being is the Greys a lot of them have a hive frequency, a hive mind, a connected consciousness. And so what they do is if you have genetics that are in alignment with certain species, those species are better able to tap into energetically and psychically, enabling them to have some slight control over you. Hence the reasons quite a few AET species can like that, I will go into a catatonic state, walk out of my bloody house, find myself in a night dress 2 blocks down the road, and be like, why am I standing outside in the spring of my nightgown? Because they can tap in to me just as easily as they can tap into those people.
Have you ever had a situation where when
Mm,
you have been taken
mm,
that you have you've actually come home with somebody else's clothes on?
no. But I've found myself outside naked enough times to learn that I will never sleep naked again. So,
Yeah, usually for me that includes alcohol. So I don't drink anymore.
my
I know
God,
you don't drink. I know you
not
don't.
much.
But yeah. But let's move on to another question. Let's go to Jaquetta. Do you
Mm.
find your friendly ETs try and protect you from the non-friendly?
Yes, they do. Some of them are quite lovely, and some of the ones that you would assume could be quite scary are actually quite nice, depending upon your connection to them. I've had reptilians put grays in their place because I've been forced to have certain like procedures done that I didn't want to have done, and had reptilians step in saying, "No, she doesn't want this. You're not doing that." And so some of the beings can be very unexpected and quite kind when you wouldn't necessarily expect them to be.
That's cool. Let's
Can
go
be,
back to Paramarv here.
sure.
I'm not in the aliens or demons camp, but any thoughts on experiencers' stories where the ETs leave quickly when the name of Jesus is spoken?
Um, my thoughts on that matter is those ETs were just respecting that person and their beliefs. I've called out to Jesus, Buddha, Krishna, Satan, literally everybody in some encounters, trying to get certain beings to stop interacting with me, and it did nothing. Pardon me. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. That's okay.
Um, if you're having beings that are willing to respect your perspective, like it's not that Jesus is a like he's a higher dimensional being. He's a higher consciousness, the same way that a lot of these other entities are, whether it's, you know, Odin, Zeus, Aphrodite, like they're all higher consciousness than we are. They're more psychically capable, they're more vibrationally capable. And you can invoke any of them in these encounters, but that doesn't mean they're going to show up. And that doesn't mean like, oh, I'm having an encounter with the Greys and they're being mean and I'm going to call Jesus and they're going to be like, oh, she said Jesus. Yep. Sorry. Safe word. Banana. Put her back. It doesn't quite work that way. I'm sorry, but it doesn't. So if they choose to respect that, it's because they're choosing to respect the person and put them back, not that Jesus himself is stopping them or protecting you.
I know that you don't follow what's happening in the UFO world. You got enough going on in your life than to
Yeah.
play in the dramatic game of ufology online that
Mhm.
is covering this subject right now. But
Okay.
one of the things many people in Washington, D.C. are saying is that they believe the whole UFO encounters, the ET encounters, part of the big cover up that's going on is there
Mhm.
is a religious aspect to this, that it might be demons that we're actually dealing with or religious type entities. What's your thoughts on this?
Can you elaborate on that a bit? Because I'm not sure.
Basically, there are many politicians who are looking into this subject.
Yeah.
Okay, say the one of the reasons why it probably has not come out is because they don't feel that humanity is ready to learn that a lot of these beings that are coming down from the stars
Mhm.
have a religious connotation to them, either being angels or demons
Yeah.
or something along those lines. And I would assume that in their backdoor conversations, this is where maybe some of their information is leading to, but it's not as much alien as it is religious deity.
Okay. Well, I'm not sure if this answers your question, but these are parallel thoughts if that's the case. If you look at the artwork from the Middle Ages, there is a lot of references to ETs within certain paintings. If you look at what the Hindu people quite like some of the gods that they um, worship, I don't remember which ones are blue skinned, but the Andromedans are blue skinned. Quite a few ETs are actually blue skinned. So if you were to take into consideration that perhaps many of the different beings that we perceive to be, different gods and goddesses that humans have worshipped over the years could very well be ETs that were then placed as positions as gods rather than actually being gods or big G or little g, however you want to see it. I get where these politicians are coming from, because if you start having the Palladians come down, they're like, oh yeah, we believe in God's source consciousness too. We do believe in that. They do. But they believe that there's a balance between the masculine and the feminine, and that both are equally as important, and that neither one sex is better or worse than the other. Then that does unwind a lot of the religious programming and control that we see around the planet, which is instituted by most governments and most positions of power. Does that answer what you're asking,
I
Dave?
think so. I think you're good on that one. All right, let's move
Yeah.
on. We got about 3.5 minutes. Let's go to Carrie.
Sure.
Have these ETs ever given you any formulas or information that would help out humanity, or is there contact more on a personal guide?
Typically for me, it's more personal, but they have given different people formulas and stuff like that, especially people who better understand that. I'm not great at math, so if they gave me a math formula for physics, I'd be like, I don't know what I'm looking at here. Because quite frankly, I'm not good with that. They have given me a lot of life advice as to how to modify my diet and how to modify my body. That way it can last longer and prevent cancers and things like that, and different things that are needed to be able to slow down the aging process, increase cellular rejuvenation, and things of that nature. They're very good at helping with things like that. But they typically come to see people who are willing to actually listen to them. And when they do give advice to those people, the people that are willing to follow it and execute the suggestions they make. When they told me as a teenager, hey, keep your sexual partners low, I did. When they told me, hey, we need you to cut out meat, and I cut out meat the next day. And when they're like, hey, we need you to reintroduce meat because your body needs this, I reintroduced it. Depending upon what was needed, I follow the prompts they give me. So they give me good information that helps for me. They'll do the same thing for you, Carrie, but you do have to meditate and you do have to start to establish a bit of a relationship with them. If you want things like formulas for physics, or you want to know how to make a certain kind of battery, or how to have better animal husbandry, or how to plant crops in such a way so that they last better, or how to cure cancer, if that is what interests you, those type of beings are the ones that you need to work with. It really depends on what your interests are. My interests are occult, metaphysical, psychic, and communication based. So those are what they focus on for me, because that's what I'm meant to focus on this lifetime.
Let's move on to Jay. We got time for one more.
Yeah.
What is your thoughts concerning 3-Eye Atlas, Green Comet, or a UFO? Are they friendly or foe? So this is if you haven't been following Samantha, there is this comet that's been flying by. It kind of made a left turn to head towards Mars instead of Earth. It's acted very erratically. Many people in the scientific community believe it is 100% a comet, but there are those who are saying that we can't rule that out, that it might be something else since it came from another solar system.
I would assume with something like that, a lot of ETs do have crafts that look like comets and that look like asteroids, things of that nature. So I wouldn't be surprised if 3-Eye Atlas is more of a craft. And the fact that it didn't just come straight to Earth and it went over towards Mars, I would be more willing to assume it's friendly rather than foe-based. If they want to invade, they would. If they want to hurt us and restart humanity, they would. But they're choosing not to do that, so I would assume they don't have negative intentions towards us.
All right. And on that note, we're going to get you to hold on right there, Samantha Mowat, because we have you for another literal half hour of this show before we have to say goodnight to you. SamanthaMowat.ca is her website. When we return from Spaced Out Radio's break, here at the bottom of the hour, we are going to get into more questions, more ET contact, more, because that's what we deliver on this show. If you want the woo, we're going to deliver it to you. This is Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. The second half of the show coming up right after this.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
All right, we're clear.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just trying to be quiet and respectful. No, I don't, I'm not very good at following the news or anything, so
Yeah.
I had no idea. They hadn't mentioned it, and I assume if it was problematic, the ETs would have mentioned it, so but they hadn't said anything about it.
No.
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 Hmm.
I don't know what it is, but it's kind of cool.
I'd say it sounds really cool. I would love for it to show up and hang out outside of our atmosphere for a bit. That'd be fun. Minus how panicky some people would get, but it'd be interesting.
Well, I often wonder too, in regards to something like that,
Yeah.
if you know these type of things, let's say this was a craft, if it
Yeah.
turned away and headed for Mars because it was instructed to, by
Yeah.
maybe
That was
beings
my
that
thought.
are already here or beings
Yeah.
that are already, in place saying, look, your kind isn't allowed over here, or
Mhm.
we need you to go detour over at Mars and take a left at Venus in order to, meet up with another craft or something along those lines. I
Yeah.
really don't know.
Or pick up supplies, drop off supplies. That happens too.
Yeah.
'Cause ETs are really big into trade the same way we are. So I wouldn't be surprised at all. Fascinating though.
I
I
think
don't
so.
know. I like people's questions. It always makes me think about my contact and try to evaluate it from a different perspective. So
Human Carl, I would have a feeling about that. Human Carl has a really good question coming up.
okay. Sounds good. I look forward to it.
Me too.
Yeah, because I mean, which Aboriginal tribe was it that said that they were around since before the moon was in our sky? I can't
Arizona.
remember which one.
Is it
Yeah.
Arizona or New Mexico?
Hmm.
Oh my goodness. It's on the tip
Right?
of
Yeah.
my
Funny. Anyways, one of them had said, yeah, they mentioned the fact that before the moon was there, that they could see the night sky better. And the fact, when was it, in the 1960s that NASA hit the moon and it kept making that ringing sound for a long time? I
yeah.
wouldn't be surprised if it's just a hollow craft like that.
The Hopi.
Oh, Hopi, interesting. Thank you. Yeah. Petrified space turd, that was hilarious. Oh my god. So good.
Beth Noise. I think 3-Eye Atlas is a rock or an old craft that might be guided by other craft or remote control type thing. But like everyone says, opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one. Just my opinion. I love
like
it.
her.
I
Me too.
love it.
That's good, right?
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. That's
Beth
good.
Noise. She is a queen among queens around here.
I like her. She's smart. She's funny.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. No, but in all due seriousness, Dave, I don't know if I would wish contact on even my worst enemy. That's a lot of mental stress to always have. Like, I really don't know if I would wish it on anybody. So,
I only know about 5% of it, and I wouldn't want it.
that's fair. I
Mhm.
understand that one. Yeah.
I know. I know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right, we got about 30 seconds.
Yeah, no worries. Sorry. Past my bedtime. Mm.
You'll make it. I promise.
Oh, well. We'll be good.
Promise.
Mm-hmm.
All right, big thank you tonight to Trucker Andrew, Cat Chaser, and Creepy Pasta for the super chats.
Thanks, guys.
And
Mm-hmm.
we got like 5 seconds. Here we go with the second half of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We appreciate you tuning us on in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hey, we want to remind all of you that if you miss portions of this show or others, our archives are always free on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Samantha Mowat is here. We have her till the top of the hour where we can chat, and we're going to take audience questions about all things extraterrestrial, ET contact, and what the heck is going on in space. Samantha's website, samanthamowat.ca. Sam, it's always a pleasure to have you here.
Thanks for having me, Dave. Always fun.
All right. Let's start off with the cowboy here. Is there a way to tell the difference between good and bad entities?
Yes, one of the first things you want to look for with any being that's having contact with you, whether it's astral, psychic, or physical, is right away take a moment. What am I feeling? Do you have a sense of dread in your stomach? Are you feeling that apprehension, that nervousness? Are you feeling a lot of fear? If you are, then you want to take caution around the being. Now, if you're dealing with a good being, you can still have fear, you can still have a little bit of like apprehension, but you're going to feel more of that excitement kind of energy, like you're about to, I don't know, have a big life event happen where there's that nervous excitement kind of energy to the good beings. Any being that is kind to you is going to have your best interest at heart. It will typically use your name. It will, if you're like, stop, don't come into the room, it will stay back and give you space, might even take a couple steps back. Whereas a being that doesn't have your best interest at heart is going to do what it wants, regardless of the amount of fear you have coming out, regardless of whether you're throwing things at it or screaming at it to go or invoking anybody. So that is something to take into consideration. A being that is good will also typically try to communicate with you in a way that doesn't seem pushy. So when they're talking with you, it could be telepathic. And if it is telepathic, they're often going to try to convey emotions that are from the heart and give you a sense of peace coming from them rather than making you nervous and bullying you.
I remember when it first started with me, and that's I
Yeah,
blame you and our good friend Pascal for that. No offense,
it's
but
all
I do.
good.
And
Yeah,
I remember when it started,
yeah,
and you said, I remember in a private conversation, you said, you have to be prepared for everything.
yeah,
You have to be prepared for the good times plus the bad times, because realistically, if you get once you fire that Kmart blue light special beam a billion miles into space, any
yeah.
type of being can pick up that signal. And
Mm-hmm,
that's kind of what it's like, is you're like a beacon that doesn't
mm-hmm,
matter whether it's the good or the bad. They all seem to come down and say, "Hey, who's this person? Let's go check them
mm-hmm,
out."
mm-hmm. And one thing you should mention, Dave, is it does not matter what race you are, what age you are, what religion you are, what your body looks like, how smart you are, any diseases that you have, none of that matters. To these beings, it is typically about vibrational frequency. And if you're emitting a very strong vibrational frequency, they're going to want to come down and check you out. The best way to increase your frequency, frequent meditation. As frustrating as it is, just 5 minutes a day, every day, will greatly increase the amount of energy you can hold on to, which increases your ability to communicate.
Human Carl is asking,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I notice that I have tiny scab dots in a
Yeah.
row on my forearm, usually 4 to 6 in a row. No particular location on my arm occurs on either arm. What's your thoughts on this, Samantha?
Well, Carl, the next time this happens, I want you to take a picture of it. But when you have stuff like this happening from contact, this is a sign of physical contact. And sometimes they can be physical dots in a row, like in 6 in a row in conjunction, normally evenly spaced. If you look at the dots themselves, you'll find they're similar in diameter and color and depth. And you'll notice that they'll all show up the same day, and you might not notice them the day before type thing because they probably weren't there. And sometimes when you're having ET contact, you can have weird patterns show up, like the triangle that we talked about, or having a circle of almost like a bunch of dots in a circle with like one dot in the middle is a common one that I see as well when people are having injections or stuff like that on craft. But if you notice it on your arm, chances are you had a physical procedure of some kind done the night before. So I would take note the next time that you notice something like this, Carl, and I would write it down in a journal, mark it on the calendar, whatever you want, and I would take note, did I have any weird dreams last night? Was there any weird paranormal things that happened in the last 24 hours? Did my CD player suddenly eject a CD? Did my microwave start flashing numbers? Or did we lose power? Or are the animals acting erratic today? Because there's often other signs that show that ETs were around if we stop to look for what else is happening around us to kind of give us clues to verify what you're having happen there.
Why does it always start off with paranormal activity? Even looking back at the
Yeah,
movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind, where all of
yeah,
a sudden, the toys would start moving and, the monkey would start clapping his cymbals, or the
yeah.
fire truck would start driving on its own. Why does it always seem to happen in conjunction with paranormal activity?
Well, think of it this way, Dave. A lot of these beings that we are calling extraterrestrial aren't necessarily like from different planets in this dimension or this universe. They're from other universes that are accessible to our universe. And when they're traveling from their universe to our universe, the frequency change as that new energy is coming into our universe and manifesting here causes an energetic disruption to the world around us, in particular within close proximity to where that craft is manifesting. So that's why you'll see things like the microwave, flashing, the power going out, the phone going dead, your cell phone glitching, stuff like that, the camera not willing to take photos. And you're like, Rick, what's happening here? But it's just the energetic disruption about it. It's
Here's
really
an
cool.
interest here's an interesting one from new listener Emma.
Sure.
My hairdresser looked at my head and said, "Did you cut your own hair?" She said my hair was cut off on part of my scalp and burned as well in the same section. Now, this could obviously be a bad haircut, or could this be something that is a little bit more prevalent, shall we say?
Well, Emma, when you have something like this happen, it's in your best interest to get your hairdresser to show the area as much as possible, pass your cell phone, get her to take a bunch of different photos to show the area. That way you can compare the size of where your hair is cut to your burn mark. Because sometimes when they are doing things on craft, the Greys in particular have been known to take samples of people's fingernails or their dirt under their fingernails, as well as scraping the skin to take some samples of the oils on the skin, as well as other different things. And it wouldn't surprise me if they're collecting a sample of your hair, because within our hair, you learn a lot about someone's minerals, their hormones, and what's happening in that capacity, the environmental toxins and pollutants they've been exposed to. The burn part, I mean, it could be when they were taking the hair, you could have had a minor burn happen there. Things like that happen as well because people have gone back after ET contact with having strange burns on their body. So it could be an association with that.
All right, let's move to another question.
Sure.
I'm thinking because I may have a question. Okay, I do have a
Yeah.
question in between there
Okay.
because human Carl talked about the marks on his arm. Emma
Mhm.
here is talking about, potentially something happening to her scalp. Do
Yeah.
they usually leave some sort of marks, and how long does it take for them to heal?
Depends. I've had some marks, like I had a mark show up in August on my stomach a few years ago, and it was there for a month and a half. And it looked like a heat rash, like if you were to have like your heat pad on you for too long. But this was in August, and there's no way when it's like 30, 40 degrees and I'm having a heat pad on my tummy. But I woke up with it right after an ET encounter. So sometimes their technology can leave marks that can last for quite a while. I know people who've had, implants that have glitched out that they've had to replace that when they took them out had like issues right with them where it left like marks on their ears and stuff like that. So sometimes their technology can have problems which could cause the burn mark, as could be the case with Emma or the case with Carl, where they're trying to do something to align something in the body or giving him something like an energetic rebalancing that's causing this mark to be there on his arm. I've seen stuff like that on my kids, especially after injections and stuff like that, Dave, where the ETs give their own version of vaccines. So it really depends on what their objective is as to what they want to get done.
Emma follows up saying, "Thank you. This wouldn't surprise me as I've seen a
Yeah,
craft in the beginning of September. It was bright and
yeah,
going back and forth, side to side. So thank you for sharing that with us." Let's go over to Luna.
sure.
Do you believe there are a chosen elect, kind of like the biblical 144,000, whom will be chosen to be messengers or be given alien gifted abilities to defend the human race during times of peril?
I don't think I can answer that one well, Luna, because I did grow up Catholic and have working against the cognitive bias that we have from programming that way kind of works against me in that capacity. I do think there's a lot of people who, in one sense, have been chosen to come down onto Earth to incarnate to help awaken this planetary awakening. I think it's actually in the millions, not necessarily just 144,000. And I think they're all messengers, and I believe that's why we see a huge amount of children born nowadays, Gen Alpha, Gen Z, millennials, Gen X. They're all very, very different boomers even, like, they're very different than the generations before them. And so I think they're actually waves of volunteers that came in to help usher in this new world. And I think these are the times of peril that a lot of the religious texts we're talking about, I think we're entering into them, and we've been in them for a little while now. What do you think, Dave?
I would agree with you on that. And I think that putting a number on it biblically is
Yeah.
tough. I struggle with it as a creationist as well, in
Yeah,
trying to figure out what is going on and what to really
yeah,
believe on that.
of course.
But it is a very difficult topic to discuss. That's for sure.
But I mean, looking at that aspect as Luna brought up, I wouldn't be surprised if the best understanding they could have of a large number like that could have been 144. Like, they might not have understood the concept of like, hey, out of the 8 billion people currently incarnated on Earth, when things start to go really bad, 500 million of them are going to be star seeds and people from other planets that are down there to help. Like, how they couldn't necessarily fathom that large of a number, right? So it could be human
Mhm.
bias in that number.
And that being said, though, too, I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of like, I look at my children, I know you look at your
Mhm.
children, they're kind of all
Yeah.
mixed around the same age category.
Yeah.
And I would say, looking at children today, they are a lot more open minded about their spirituality, about God, about acceptance of alien beings, acceptance that there is more to life out there. They seem to see things in a very colorful view rather than a black and white view, which I
Yeah.
think is fantastic. Like I was
Mhm.
looking at it on the weekend, and it still kind of fascinates me about it. Like my little dude, as you know him,
Yeah.
and this past weekend was the third anniversary of us having our last Sasquatch sighting.
Okay.
And and the fact that he was there watching it. And he doesn't brag about it. He doesn't really talk about it. It's kind of like laissez-faire, like, yeah, it happened. It's like seeing a bear in
Yeah.
the wild, or a mountain lion, or a grouse, or
Mhm.
that or deer in the backyard. That's
Yeah.
kind of the attitude that he takes about it. And I think a lot of kids are actually doing that, where this high
Mhm.
strangeness of UFOs, aliens, Sasquatch, ghosts, it doesn't affect them the way it
Mhm.
does the older generations like yours, mine, and above.
Yeah. Which is wonderful because I'd hate for them to have the isolation that happened within our generations when you experience stuff like this. I love seeing the shift in consciousness.
Oh, 100%. 100%. All right, let's go
Yeah,
to Ozzy Ange here.
sure.
She is asking, Samantha, do you know anything about a wave of energy coming in from outer space? And if you do, will it affect the Earth?
From what I've been told, there's been a lot of waves of energy coming in to help shift things up on this planet to counteract some of what's going on down here, in particular to prevent negative events from taking place, nuclear destruction, and so on and so forth. But with the waves of energy coming in, I was told by Pleiadians that they send some waves of energy as well to help awaken our star system and to make it so all the planets that are within our solar system are waking up around the same time, even though Mars and Venus both are occupied, from what I've been told, by other humanoid races most commonly. They're going through their own awakening process the same way that we are, but in a different capacity. So it's not just hitting Earth, from what they've told me, but helping all the ones within our region. I don't know much more about it than that because, quite frankly, I didn't ask them a lot about it. It just came up lightly in conversation one time. Sorry, Angie.
I love this question by Sarah.
Yeah.
Can ET take you on a magic carpet ride while awake and aware?
Yes, yes, they can. And you don't always want that. Like I've told my family, I hope they always bring us back, but I don't know if they're always going to bring us back. Looking at it as far as like a magic carpet ride is concerned, I love the magic aspect of that, the beauty of it, the sweetness of it. But if they're taking you and you're wide awake, like Dave, let's say they showed up right now, they're like, hey, Dave, come with me. We need you to walk out of your house and walk into the back field and come on the craft. When they take you in that degree of awareness, I'd be surprised if you're coming home.
Ah, I just wanted them to land in my backyard.
I
I'm
know.
ready. I'm ready.
I'm ready to leave this planet, so
Just as
what
long
can
as they
I
make a pit stop at a Taco Bell, I'll be
say?
fine. I'll be fine.
They
Yeah.
can though, Sarah, like if you do work with them and that's something you want, they'd be willing to do that. But you do have to talk to them about what you want and they will choose one suits best for them and which group works best to do that. And they'll pick the location. You'll feel called to go to a certain location to have that physical encounter take place. They don't always just take you in the middle of the night.
Mhm. And congratulations to our listener, Sarah, because
Yeah.
she is celebrating a number of months now in sobriety.
Ah, congrats. That's
So,
exciting.
yes, I'm
That's a big
very
deal.
excited for her.
Yeah.
And I know she's worked extremely hard on that, and
Yeah.
she's winning. And that's what matters to me. She's
It
winning.
is.
And I love it when people win. I really do.
That's a really big deal. It's a hard thing to do. So,
As being
yeah.
part of a family that lost
Yeah.
with my nephew, watching people
Yeah.
like Samantha, or pardon me, that Sarah
Sarah.
win, that just it gives me so much hope.
Yeah.
It really does. And you're amazing, Sarah. Keep up the incredibly great fight that you were doing.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's amazing. All right,
Well,
let's go.
Dave,
Go ahead.
that's one thing that we didn't talk about with ET contact. A lot of people I know who have ET contact struggle with addiction because it can be so mentally overwhelming if they don't have people to talk to and if they don't have that supportive environment. It's very common to see contactees that are alcoholics or drug addicts or even just like chain smokers. That's one common thing I've seen with it too. I just wanted to bring it up. Yeah.
All right, let's go to Joe in California. Where can we find the video that you guys did with Samantha at the crash site? Merle has never put it out. We're going to get on Merle's case and tell him to get it out there. You know what, Joe?
Yeah.
Ask tomorrow night when Merle is here.
Yeah.
Okay. When Merle is here, let's get him to put it. We'll ask him, when is he going to put out that video? Because, oh my God.
Sure.
I watched the trailer again the other
Yeah.
day because I
How was
sent
it?
it to our mutual friend, Jamie, who,
Oh,
by
he's
the
a
way,
sweetheart.
I
Yeah.
sent my friend Jamie from Texas
Yeah.
to Samantha the other day. Their conversation was their conversation. I know nothing about it, nor is it my opinion. My reason to know because it's private. Jamie is the biggest skeptic of skeptics, and
Yeah.
I received a text message from him. I said, "How did it go?"
Oh
And he
God.
goes, he literally says, "Your lady there, Dave, is pretty spot on. I'm damn impressed."
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's a sweetheart. Nice man.
He is. He is.
Yeah.
He's a good Texas boy.
Yeah. They have a cool accent. I love American accents. They're so versatile.
Yeah. He's got
Yeah.
that polite Texan drawl, though. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Awesome. Let's go to the unknown for a pair of questions. Do you think good and bad entities actually exist, or are they just reflections of our own energy and choices?
Well, I think you have to look at it the same way that they're not necessarily good or bad unknown. It's all about our perspective. Because when you look at some of the ETs that, feed off of meat and eat things like humans, sorry, Dave, but they don't believe they're in the wrong any different than we do with, going and having a burger made of cow. It all depends upon the perspective of who's being impacted by what's happening. And they're more a reflection of their own energy and choices. And if or our energies in combating, like combating theirs. If you are someone who, okay, sorry, if you are someone who doesn't necessarily have a strong moral compass in regards to the evolution of consciousness, and I want you to look at this random. Let's say you're someone who's willing to, you don't care about anyone else, you only care about yourself. And you're out for your own sexual gratification, you're out for your own focus on what makes your life happy, and you enjoy indulging in different substances and you enjoy stuff like that, then certain beings are going to be more in alignment with you as far as, like depending upon if you are in a kinder self-certain way, like you just want to have a good time, you don't actually want to hurt people, then you are more likely to look at the actions of the Palladians who enjoy beer, who enjoy vegetarian food, who enjoy free sex, very kind of hippie that sense, more diplomatic. Then for some people who have the belief that, you only have sex with one person and sexual liberation is a bad thing, you look at the Palladians and be like, oh my goodness, I do not like these guys. They have no morals, just by comparison as a point of perspective. Whereas if you were someone who is very like looking at the ETs from the perspective of, you are very sexually focused and you really enjoy your addictions and your vices and you enjoy structure and rigidity and hierarchical structures, then you would look at the reptilians and be like, yeah, okay, I can totally relate to these guys. But someone else who, wants more freedom, they look at the reptilians and think they're really stuffy and really bad and not like anything about them and see them as like being too intense. So it really depends on your viewpoint as to how you're going to view these beings. And that's the part that I've kind of struggled with as my own evolution of consciousness has been happening, is looking at the ETs and trying to see them in a very unbiased way and just in a clear, this is who they are. I'm trying to accept them for who they are. Does that make sense?
I
Where
think
it's
it
like
does.
not from my own lens. Go ahead.
Samantha, we're going to be running out of time here.
All
So
right.
unfortunately, we're not going to get to a couple questions left from our audience, but big thank you for coming back on the show. I will talk to you very, very soon because we love it when you are here. Samantha Mowat.ca is her website. Coming up next, Swamp Dweller kicks off hour 3. Then Robin Haynes is here for the cryptid Q&A. So get your questions ready on Spaced Out Radio.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
All right, we are clear. Great job tonight, my friend.
Thanks, Dave. That was fun.
Yeah, we'll chat soon. Jolene wants to know when you're coming down.
I think next hockey tournament is December or January. Yeah, because I was just down your way twice in the last month for rugby, so
All right.
just driving through. But yeah,
Hopefully we'll see you soon.
sounds good.
All
See
right,
you
buddy.
guys.
I'll call you soon, okay?
Sounds good.
All right. Samantha Mowat, everybody. We love her around here. I'll be right back. We got about a minute to go. I wish there was a Taco Bell and a casino here. NT, how you doing? And let's see here. Anybody else? Let's bring in Robin. There she is.
Hi.
It's Robin Haynes, everybody.
Yay.
Love her. Little Jimmy Goodall. I'm doing great. Thank you, buddy. I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for coming on in. I love you, my friend. I hope you're doing well. We got 20 seconds. Thank you to Trucker Andrew ×2 and Cat Chaser and Creepy Pasta. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. JSCO, how you doing? I know I'm getting tired. My knees are getting sore. The weather is changing here. Here we go. Here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We greatly appreciate you tuning us on in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hey, we want to say hello to everyone tuning us in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. And what do you got for us tonight, Clam? Well, let's take a look. Cataphysical. Cataphysical is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam says the password each and every night, right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's head to the swamp.
Hello and welcome to Spaced Out Radio's Swamp. I'm Swamp Dweller, and tonight I'm going to take you on a mystic journey of the unknown, sharing tales of monsters, legends, and nightmares. Welcome to the Spaced Out Radio Swamp.
This next case comes from Fort Campbell, Kentucky. Alice Jefferson and her husband, Lee Andrew Jefferson, a soldier who was stationed at the Fort Worth station between March 1973 and July 1975, they had two children who were just 5 and 6 at the time, and Alice would suddenly vanish. To clarify a bit before I continue, Lee Jefferson was not the father of Alice's children. To begin the timeline of Alice's seemingly abrupt disappearance, we need to begin with the seemingly skewed time and day of when she went missing. It has been up for debate for decades now, but most seem to conclude it occurred in 1975. The day, as the children can remember, was rather normal. They went off to school and everything seemed to be fine. But on this day, they remember their mom did not show up to pick them up as usual, so the kids walked home to find all the doors locked. The kids claimed to have beaten and yelled at the door for several minutes before Lee Jefferson finally let them inside. He was allegedly agitated, out of breath, and sweaty. He claimed he had been sleeping, and that is why it took him so long to answer the door. For some reason, Lee would not let the kids go into their room, though. He never gave them a reason as to why. It was as if he was hiding something in there. Alice's car was still parked in the driveway. All of her clothing and valuables were seemingly untouched as well. Alice would never be seen or heard from again. Just a few days after the children last saw their mother, Lee packed their bags and drove them to their grandparents' house in Little Rock, Arkansas. He would never return, and the children never saw him again. Lee claims he reported Alice as missing to the authorities, but no evidence can be shown to prove this ever actually happened. According to Alice's family members and friends, she would never just up and leave her children alone with someone who was not family. They strongly believe foul play was involved here, and they think Lee Jefferson has something to do with it. A proper missing persons report and investigation did not begin until 2013, nearly 40 years later. This tragic story needs an ending. Closure is a right for all families, Alice has brown hair and brown eyes. She was about 5 feet tall and weighed around 110 pounds. She was about 21 years old at the time and had an open-faced gold crown on one of her front teeth. She was known to wear a wig on occasion. If you knew Alice Jefferson or have any information as to where she may be located, please contact the U.S. Army Criminal Investigation Unit at 270-798-7113.
Thank you, Swamp Dweller, for another spooky story. If you want more just like that, head on over to YouTube, type in Swamp Dweller, hit subscribe, ring that bell. Thousands of stories for you to listen to right there. It's time for Robin. Robin Haynes is back with the Cryptid Q&A as we talk all things cryptid and anomalous with Ms. Haynes, who is absolutely amazing, and we love her around here. Robin, how are you?
I'm good. I love you too. I have so much fun on this show. And you guys have like the best people.
Yes, we do.
You
Yes,
really do.
and I know you love it when our audience members check in with you on social media.
I
You know,
do.
and you get to chat with them. So I know that's important to you as well.
I do. I really enjoy it. And I get a lot of them that will get hold of me on Facebook and want to chit chat or whatever. I enjoy it. Like, I welcome it. People are amazing.
So I'm in a little bit of a conundrum here that I need your opinion on.
Okay.
And it's in regards to Flight 21.
Mm-hmm.
I've been getting, as weird as this may sound, almost like telepathic messages that saying, hey, where are you? When are you coming back? It's been 5 weeks since we've been able to investigate up there, due to Tim James having to back away due to health concerns. And I'm not having much luck finding anybody to investigate with, and I will not go up to that location on my own. What the heck do I do?
Well, first off, I've heard from them as well. So, and it's, where are the men? Where are the men? And I'm like, you have to wait. One will be back. The other one isn't feeling well. And I've kind of left it at that. Yeah, you definitely don't want to go back alone. That's not a good idea for anybody, even if it's in an area that you're very familiar with, you're comfortable with. It's just really and truly, and not because of the Sasquatch. Realistically, the Sasquatch and the Dogman are the least of the worries out there, to be honest with you. There's so many cryptids that are not named that are out there, as well as open portals that are anchored and various things. It's just not a wise idea. I do think you need to go back for yourself as well as for the cryptids there. They are very anxious to get you back. Finding the right person is not going to be easy, but you need to start interviewing candidates, to be honest with you. Clearly you want a pure heart, because they are going to test that person to make sure they are. But I do think that for you yourself, you need to go back. You have a tie to that area now. And there is a connection between you and those cryptids, and to walk away is not doing you or them any favors. Unfortunately, right now, Tim's not available to do that. They miss him. They want to know how he's doing as well. But that isn't something that is able to happen right now. So until that time when he feels better, you need to actively be trying to pursue it, because I don't feel like you're going to get any peace if you don't, for a couple of reasons. You have a connection there. It's an energetic tie to that place. You put blood, sweat, and tears in that place on top of it. But they have a connection with you, and they are not going to let you just walk away and forget that they exist. They're not going to harm you, but they're not going to quit bugging you either. You know, when Sasquatch get excited about something, when they want something, they are like that nagging toddler that does not stop. They have an infinite amount of patience if they're trying to hide from us or stand still so we don't know they're there. But when it's something they're passionate about, it's like a toddler on crack. And they don't stop. They literally don't stop. They've asked me where you were, you know, and I'm like, he'll be back. He'll be back. Well, where have the men gone? You know, they're used to somewhat of a routine on when you come. And now that routine has been broken and they're like, where are they? Where are they? You know, and they're like, we did no wrong. And I'm like, no, you didn't do anything wrong. It's not you guys. They will be, you know, he will be back. So I definitely think for a majority of reasons, you do need to find a way to make this happen. But absolutely not alone. It's not safe for anybody. It does not have to do with your situation or where you're going. It is just simply not a good idea for anybody.
Yeah, it's finding that person. Because
It is. It's hard.
it's a level of commitment, you know, and
Oh, I
everybody has
know.
their own life, and being able to find someone who is as committed to the project as I need it to be in order to make it work. You know, I realize I'm a stupid rare breed on that sense, Robin.
I don't think so. I admire you for it. And, you know, I was the same way when I was in Michigan. You know, this is before I got on Facebook and people even knew I existed. I did it all by myself. This is why I'm telling everybody, you don't do this by yourself. This is not a game. This is not something to play around with. And it's not the cryptids that you're going out to be with that are the problem. But I was like that. You know, I've been doing this since I was a small child. I couldn't walk away from it. There's no way I could walk away from this. I can't even entertain that idea. It's as much a part of me as breathing in and out. You know, I've never been without them in my life. You now have them in your life. You're not going to be able to just walk away. It's part of who you are. Your peace comes from the woods. Your peace comes from interacting with them. You know, your frequency is up high enough where you are now connected to them. And you can't walk away from that. It doesn't change anything other than make you unsettled in your own life. But it is hard to find the right person because you're not just talking about somebody that you need to be able to work with and have a good time and trust. You're talking about somebody that you have to literally trust with your back at all times. And somebody that not only gets along with you, but gets Sasquatch approval. Not an easy thing.
And that's a tough one. That's a tough
Mm-hmm.
one. Like I have one person who I know they would love to see up there.
Mm-hmm.
However, they don't want her research partner friend to be with her.
Right.
It's
Yeah,
like
and that
they've given her the green light. They have not given the friend the green light, if that makes
no,
sense.
and I don't think they intend to. I think that they are comfortable with two people. I think once in a while a third they can tolerate, but like we talked about before, too much stimulation is overstimulation. And when you bring that third person in, and sometimes they can handle it, just not all the time. But when you have that third person any person with you, even just one more person, everything that they do in their lives comes with them. That energy from everything they do in their lives comes with them. So they're reading the intent of that, the people they're around, everything that's going on. It will take time for them to accept another person. Now, what I always do, and I'm not saying what I'm doing is always right, but what I do that has been successful is when I take another person out into an area, or even in all honesty, my house, and just to walk outside, they don't accept anybody until I go up and hug them so that they can see I'm comfortable. They can see I'm happy. Nobody's trying to kill me dead. I am perfectly fine. You know, it's like the night that my ex-husband and I first saw each other, the first time he had come to my house. He got out of the car. I was in the house. It was dark out. He got out of the car, looked in the woods, and climbed back in the car. Like literally got back in the car. And I went out there and I said, "What is the matter?" And he's like, and he points to the woods, and the entire woods was lit up with nothing but eye shine. Like we had a full house. And he's like, "I am not getting out. Not with them there. And they're telling me in my head not to get out of the car." So I made him get out and I hugged him and I'm like, "See, I'm okay. I'm not hurt. I'm happy. Everything is good." And then they mellowed out. So, it's like that father whose daughter's going out on their first date. They're going to be protective. So it is hard to find somebody. It's not an easy thing. You may have to try 2 or 3 people before you find that fit with that particular clan, because that other partner did not start out with you. So they did not accept him at the same pace as you. Now, let me ask you this. Is there somebody in your circle that may have been a mutual friend of you and Tim that might be interested in this? And the reason I say that is because that person would have energy that came from you and energy that meshed with Tim.
They like my buddy Mark.
That would be where I would start. And like I said, again, that person knows both you and Tim. They've accepted you and Tim. So that way, that energy from the two of you is kind of like leftover residue on Mark.
Right.
And that might be a very good step to start with.
Yeah, my buddy Mark has been up there a number of times. He was there in 2018 when we had the first encounter. He was there a number of times since. He was there last year when we were filming, when they escorted us out of the forest. So he is very familiar and they are familiar with him.
They say that they would be willing to let him come. They said, "We will let him come. We will see if he can merge with our clan." Like, you're already accepted. You're a done deal. That's not an issue. They miss you. They want to know where you're at. And, when they first approached me with this, which was today's Tuesday, it would have been like last Wednesday or Thursday, I think it was. And they wanted to know, had they done something wrong? And I said, absolutely not. You guys are completely Ani. Ani means good. I said, there's no problems, and I explained again about Tim. And I said, Tim, still molos you, which means love, and cares about you. He just can't be there right now. And just like as if you're explaining to a toddler, because of the language barrier and the cultural differences. It's not that they have the intelligence of a toddler. It's far superior to us. But, to break it down so that they can understand it. So
it does make a lot of sense.
Yeah, but I would start with Mark. Now, maybe Mark can start out at, a now and then and maybe commit more later. If it doesn't work out, then you can try somebody else. It's like a gradual process. But I would definitely talk to him about it because they said they are willing. They said they know of him. He did not harm them. They would be willing to meet with both of you.
Yeah.
And in their world, that would just be have you out in the area and see how it goes.
Mark has gone to the other investigative site with me, and he's actually the one who has been a big part of the investigations in the past.
Yeah, like I said, I think that would be a way to start. You want to try to find somebody, and if you can't, that's okay. But I'm just saying, if at all possible, find somebody that has a connection to the you and Tim thing so they can associate it with the two of you and maybe gradually transfer it over. They've already felt Mark's frequency because he was there with you and Tim. It went well. Being escorted out does not mean that it's a negative experience. I've been escorted out before. They were out hunting and I was out there and I wasn't, shouldn't have been there. I got lost out in the woods and they escorted me out and showed me the way out. They were literally within 5 feet of me. They never hurt me. They never growled. They never did anything that they shouldn't. So,
I can honestly say, as silly as this may sound, Robin, I can honestly say that I've missed going up there. Not just with Tim, but with the whole scenario and everything that we had built. It's like building up something really special, and then all of a sudden, boom, it's over. Kind of like when you're driving on vacation and all of a sudden you get in a car accident. It sucks.
yeah. Well, and I think too, like I said, you guys have built a energetic connection there. You have a tie to it. And I just knowing you, Dave, as I do, and all the busy things that go on in your life, you're not going to be happy if you don't go up there. That place has a hold on you now, and that's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. And it's part of you. It's a connection that you have. And when you get these energetic ties, they don't just go away. It's not like you went to Walmart and then decided you didn't like that Walmart, you'll go to another one later. It doesn't work like that. And when you build a relationship with them, and I've been around for it, I've talked to you about it. I've talked to you guys coming out of the woods, going into the woods. Granted, I haven't been there physically, but I've remote viewed it. I've astro projected to it. And I've talked to these beings and, done whatever I could to help you guys. There is a very tight connection that you have there, stronger than what you realize. This isn't something you can just walk away from and just be okay with. It would always bother you. And I honestly believe, from someone that cares about you as well as them, it will not be good for either side if you walk away from it.
I'm definitely not walking away from it. I can guarantee you that.
Yeah, it's
It-
hard for them to build a relationship. And when they do, that's it. Like, I know you would never walk away from them, but like, let's say tomorrow you decided you would, they would find a way and show up at your house. Like, they just don't let go that easy. They don't. There'll always be one or two of them that will not let go. It's like I have some here in South Carolina that were in Michigan, not the whole clan, but a few of them. I have some in some of the southern states that I've interacted with that now come visit. When I finish my move to Texas, which hopefully I've been in transit back and forth for a while, but when I get that move completed, I already have some that are already lined up here to go. They don't just let you go. Like, once they've bonded, once they have that connection, it's done through the collective consciousness, and then it's also done energetically. And you really don't have that control that you think you do, because once they like you, they like you. You're stuck with them. It's a lifer.
How close were we?
What?
How close were we to making actual contact?
Well, you're right there on the cusp, and you actually have had actual contact. You saw the black male.
Well, Tim did. I did not.
No, remember the first one that you saw that I told you were going to see and you didn't believe me? And then you called me and said, oh my God, it happened exactly like you said. That was about, what, 2 years ago?
3 years ago.
3 years ago, yeah.
Saturday.
Yeah. He still watches you. People seem to think that the only way that they can have a connection is in the physical. Okay. The physical is third dimension. That's all it is. These things work on a higher frequency in a higher dimension, just like yourself now. You're operating on a higher frequency. So you're no longer, your body is third dimension.
Hold that thought. Robin Haynes, we have her till the top of the hour. I know I'm being a little selfish here with her. But that's okay. This is Spaced Out Radio.
This is Spaced Out Radio, and your host, Dave Scott.
All right, we're clear.
Good. Yeah, I would start with Mark.
Yeah. I'll talk to him this week.
Yeah. And there might be adjustments here and there, and you might have to play with a couple, bringing in a couple different people. I think that's the best place to start because they've already seen him and they've seen him there with both you and Tim.
Yeah.
The thing you don't want them to think, because they look at things in a much different perspective than we do.
Mm-hmm.
So, like the property that I bought in Texas, the family that lived there, I made sure went out with me, even though I'd mind spoke with these guys for 10 years. I made sure that family took me out with them. They hugged me and said, see, she's not here to hurt you, even though they already knew me through Mindspeak. And I had them say, we need to move on. She's going to stay here and she'll protect you. So it was like that transfer over to another person. And then the person that they were losing, because they worry about their feelings, that those people were able to convey to them that we want this. This is what we want to do. And this is good. This is a good thing. So being that Mark was out there with you and Tim, you would then take Mark out there and say, listen, you guys, while Tim isn't feeling well, Mark, that Tim likes Mark. I like Mark. He's going to be our friend. He's been here before. He hasn't hurt you. So this is a good thing. This is a very good thing. So they don't think that he's the reason Tim isn't there.
Well,
Like, you have to.
Mark is also the one who, in 2024, when we got escorted out, it was Mark's call that we left.
Well, he'll get used to them.
Yeah, no, but that's when they were asking us to leave, right?
Yeah.
And that was
Well, like
Mark's
I said,
call.
okay, well, try it. Like I said, they may not accept him. And then you say, okay, it didn't work out with him. I try somebody else.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it is a process, but they can change their mind on a person at any time. I had a friend of mine, we'd been friends for over 20 years. She went out in the woods with me when I went on my walks every day so that I wasn't by myself, because I used to do it by myself. She wanted to be involved. They never had a problem with her. We were out one day and there were some females out there. They had babies hidden in this one set of brush. And they asked me to go over, push energy on the babies, and do a blessing. Not a problem. My friend was standing right next to me the whole time when they asked me this. I said, yeah, I'll do it. We get over towards the bush. We get like 15 feet from the bush. I look over. My friend is on the ground grabbing her head. Like, they had been fine with her every time. They'd shown themselves to her. And she's grabbing her head and she's going, make him stop, make him stop, make him stop. They were zapping the hell out of her. And so I yelled at him. I said, you will stop it right now or I'm not helping anybody. And they did. And they said, you can come by the baby. She cannot. And I was like, they knew her. They approved her for years. She was out in the woods with me. And then that day, those particular females were like, nope, not going to happen. After that incident, they were fine with her again. When Sadie brought her baby up towards the house so I could see her, and that baby was only a few months old. And she was in the backyard. They wouldn't let her get close like me, but she was allowed into the backyard so that she could look across the yard at it. So you just never know how they're going to react. Like, they scan people, like with my friend, she could have been by somebody that was really a very negative energy the day before. And that was kind of like hanging on her. And you don't know. It could just be a different individual in the clan. It's really hit or miss, but the closest thing you can get to knowing you and Tim and maybe transferring that a little bit, that would be my place that I would tell you to start. If they reject him again, after you've talked to them, and you're going to talk to them before you go out, you're going to talk to them in the vehicle on the way there. You're going to become Chatty Cathy to reassure them. And if it still doesn't work out, and then you just go on to the next person. But you do need to find somebody in soon because they're getting really nervous as to where you are.
I'll tell them I'll be there as soon as I can.
I will. I'll make sure they know. They said, tell the man that we miss him.
Yes. All right. Big thank you to Trucker Andrew ×2, Cat Chaser, and Creepy Pasta. for the great super chats. We greatly appreciate it. Don't forget, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag, so make sure you check it on out. And we're coming back here in about 5 seconds. We're into the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We greatly appreciate you tuning us on in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Robin Haynes coming up momentarily, but first we want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, our archives are always free on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. All right, Robin Haynes is here. Are you ready for some questions, Robin?
Absolutely.
I got a good one for you right off the bat. This one comes from my good friend Nicole, and she is saying that you inspired her to go for a walk and a hike and maybe do a little bit of cryptid hunting the other day in her state of Illinois. And she says, we came across a break 4 to 6 inches thick stone storm pipe drainage. It was like it was peeled back off a layer, and we don't have bears or anything big here. Could it have been Bigfoot? And she says to ask you if they'll mess with the city line drainage systems that happen to let out or cross in creeks or forests.
Oh, absolutely. They'll mess with anything. I've literally watched them take apart the transmitter boxes for the electric company because they wanted to pull the energy out of it. Yeah, they will. If they think, number one, if it's like a drain pipe that's going through the water, I mean, they'll step on it just to see what it is. If there's something in it they want, they have no problem busting it. They'll get in it. As far as did she say something about pulling the bark off the trees? Is that what she said?
No, it was like pulling the drain pipe back, like it had been peeled back.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They want to see what it's all about. They're nosy. They'll take it apart. They'll dissect it. Absolutely.
What's the purpose of that?
Curiosity. They want to see what's going on with it. They want to see what's going through it. If they can hear water flowing through it, they're going to want to know why. They're going to want to pull it back. They're going to want to look at it. They're very, very inquisitive. They've got to check it out, especially the youngsters. The adults, they've been around the block. They could really care less. But you get these adolescents and you get the kids. Oh, yeah, they'll play with it. They went to the electric transmitter box, and it was like 3 doors down from my place. And they literally went down there. I saw them standing down there, and I couldn't figure out what they were doing. It was like right around dusk, so it was like a little bit dark, but I could see the shapes of them. And they were down there like, what in the world are they doing? 10 minutes later, the entire neighborhood went black. They literally blew the transmitter box for the entire block of the electric because they were down there pulling power from it. And they had to see what was going on with it.
So they weren't just doing it in order to, steal the copper wire and trade it in for
No, they were too busy having fun. But they are very curious. They love to play games. At the one place I was at, where they literally walked around uncloaked all day long. Like I really very seldom I had like 3 or 4 people that were allowed there because they always walked around uncloaked. And they would, at night when I would go out with them, some of the youngsters would go, I had a double wide, and it was on a slab and it had skirting around it, they would go underneath the double wide and they would knock on the skirting. And then I would stand on the outside and I would knock back, and then I'd go down 3 or 4 feet. I'd knock on the skirting again, and you'd hear them laughing and screaming, and they'd run down to the next spot where I was at and they'd knock back. And it was a game, you know, or I would be in the house and they would lay on their backs and they would tap on what would be my floor. They would reach up and tap on it. I'd knock back, and then they'd go to another part of the house and knock. I'd go and knock back, and then I would move and they would follow me. Like, they love to play and they are excessively curious.
What makes them so curious?
You know, I think they're pretty, whimsical at heart. You know, people think they're the really, really stoic. And the dogmen are actually more stoic than the Sasquatch are, although some of the dogmen can be hilariously funny as well. But they have this sense of humor, and they're very carefree about it. You know, a lot of things get broken because they're playing. Like with the pipe, like she was talking about. Chances are they're going to end up busting that thing all to heck. But they're not doing it to break it. They're trying to play with it. You know, it's like I have, and I mentioned it before, I have a feral cat pen and I have all these dog houses in it. Well, one of the youngsters went in there playing with the houses and stepped on top of it, broke it into 18 million pieces, and then dragged part of it out of the pen because it was trying to hide that it broke it. You know, it wasn't trying to break it. They're playing with it. They get playing with things. And it's like, picture Bam Bam Rubble. Off the Flintstones, you know, he would do things and everything would get broken because he doesn't know his own strength. Not that they can't do damage on their own because of how strong they are, but a lot of times it's simply a matter of they don't realize how strong they are with our things. And they're just curious. They want to see, oh, how does this work? Why does it make this noise? This is some of the, the hairless humans things. Why do they have this? Why does it work this way? What's it going to do if I do this? You know, they're just curious in nature. Their curiosity keeps them alive, by the way. If they weren't so curious, they would miss a lot of things that could potentially kill them.
Let's move on to another question.
And I am glad I inspired Nicole.
Yes, she's happy about that. Paramar is asking, what would happen if Dave took someone that wasn't approved by the forest people? What if someone happens to stumble into an area? Do they hide, portal out, could get violent?
Actually, all of the above. If it's somebody that they feel energetically is not safe for them, because everybody has an energy signature, everybody has a frequency. If they feel that it is not safe for them, the stomping of the feet. You know, they could do things that are warnings for you that we may just ignore before they become violent. That frequency and energy affects them greatly. Their entire world is based on it. Ours is too. We just are now starting to open up to the fact that it is. But for them, it's everything. Okay. So like if Dave were to take somebody out there and they just could not adjust to them, you would try, 3 or 4 times. If they just could not adjust to that person, they could reject Dave as well. And they adore Dave. They love him. So that would be really sad, because it would be sad for them. It would be sad for Dave. If they don't like somebody, they're done. You don't get that second chance. They will be cautious. They will watch that person as long as they're not doing anything to hurt them for a little bit. But then once they determine one way or another, it's done. It's pretty much set in stone. If they don't accept you, if they don't want you around, it's done. But, if it's somebody walking through the woods, they're not looking for Sasquatch, and they just happen to be out there, and it's somebody that they don't approve of, 9 out of 10 times, they're going to just back off and get out of the way, because they read the intent of everybody. They can read your intent, your consciousness, your mind before you can even think that they are. They're going to know, okay, this person is not here looking for us. We don't like this person. We don't like anything about them, but they're not here for us. So then they will make a decision based on that individual. Do we want to do something that might make them want to leave? They can project emotions. They could project a little bit of fear on that person where they might feel uncomfortable and want to leave. They could not zap them, but maybe give them a little bit of a headache so they want to leave, or just try to persuade them to go somewhere else so that they aren't so uncomfortable, but a lot of times they just simply move off and wait for that person to pass, because if they do anything, they run the risk of being found out that they're there. And now you're talking about a person that they don't care for, they don't like, they don't want interaction with. The last thing they want is for them to know that they even exist. So 9 out of 10 times they're just going to move off, or they'll stay far enough away to just watch and observe. They'll leave one of the members of the clan to watch that person to make sure that they aren't going to do anything fearful. And if it gets too bad, then they would do these subtle things to try to persuade them to leave. And if they didn't leave, then they could get violent. Yes.
Let's go to Joe. Robin, if I went up to Canada, would my Bigfoot telepathically talk with Dave's Bigfoot and let them know I'm okay?
There's a very good chance that they would. There's no guarantees, but generally, yes. And once you have made contact, if your group, it kind of can go both ways. If you are working like Joe, your group is good. I've talked to them a ton. They're awesome and they adore you. So if you were to go to Dave's, one of two things would happen. They would pick up your group on it and they'd be like, okay, why is there another, group here? They would know that they're not with you, but then they might have a conversation with them. And that conversation would be, listen, we've been around him for years. He's kind. He's good human. He's what they call Ani, which is good. And then they would be more than likely wanting to accept you. If you were working, which you're not, but if you were working with a group that was less than desirable, that could also be transferred up to Dave's group. And they would be like, we don't want him or his group anywhere near here. In your case, you have a very kind group and they will talk to each other. If I were you, if I were going to go to Dave's, I would say, let them know ahead of time, I'm coming, I'm kind, I'm not going to hurt them, I mean no malice, and I would talk to them on my way up there and let them know to say, I'm just coming to be your friend and to be with my friend. But generally, if they pick up your group on them, they will talk to your group.
Makes sense.
And Joe has nothing to worry about. Sasquatch love him.
All right. Well, let's see if we have any other audience questions here. I think we're pretty good right now. And let us ask you then, in regards to the cryptids that you deal with, how many of them actually want interaction with humans?
A human. Most of them are very content just existing. All they want from us is to be able to exist without being fearful, for their families to live without being fearful. If it's a human that they like basically I work for all these things. Like I have a choice if I want to or not, but if they need help, they'll come get me, I'll help them. Does that mean all of them know about me? No, that does not mean that at all. I'm simply not that important. But like in my case, they seem to want contact with me. They make sure that I get an eyesight of them or I get a picture of some kind of them, and they just kind of show up. Now, like Amula, she's a cat person, lovely, very kind, never had issues with her. She's not chatty. She's perfectly fine just living her life out in the woods. She let me know she was here a few times. She doesn't want to talk, She doesn't want to say, hi, how you doing? She's very happy doing her own thing. Now, if I call out to her, she's very quiet. She will respond most times, not all the time, but most times. But she is very independent on her own. The Sasquatch, it depends on the individual. The dogman, again, individual. The lizard man, I didn't have problems with him. He was not aggressive. He would rather observe people than have contact. He shows up from time to time, but he does not ever look for contact. Most of these things watch us because they want to make sure we're not going to do anything to hurt them. Occasionally, you'll get an individual that might like your frequency and your energy enough to want to make contact, and they will. Okay, like in Joe's case, Joe is of a higher frequency. They watched him for a lot longer time than he ever knew that they were there before they started leaving telltale signs he was there, that they were there, because they liked him. They always have to make the choice. We don't get to make it. It is never our choice. It is theirs. And it depends on the individual. Most cryptids just want to be alone. You know, they will watch us to make sure we're not going to do anything stupid. They will send a guard or a watcher to babysit, if you will, and make sure that we're not doing anything that's going to negatively affect or have an impact on their clan or their pack. You know, and if we're just, and this is what I tell everybody, you do your own thing and let them filter in around you. Don't go out there running them down, because that's just, it's not going to make them happy about it. You know, if you want to go a certain way out in the woods and then stop and just sit there and talk and then let them come up to you on their own, that's great. But do what you're going to do. And instead of anticipating their moves, you're never going to get it right. So instead of anticipating their moves and trying to do things around them, do what you need to do while being respectful of their areas, and let them work themselves around you, because they feel more secure that way. And if they want contact, you'll get it. They'll start very subtly, very subtle signs. Walk around your house before it's dark. See what rocks are on the ground, where the sticks are on the ground around it. If you know that they're around, that the Sasquatch are around or the Dogmen are around. And then the next morning, go out and look on the ground and see if everything's in the same place. Start looking up on your roof. Are there rocks up on your roof? Those are little telltale signs that are subtle that say we're around. And they're doing that to find out if you're going to react and go absolutely bonkers and then run out in the woods with a gun. When they see that you're not, then they will move forward again. But they are only comfortable when we let them make the choices.
We have 4.5 minutes to go here before we have to say goodnight to you. Let's go to Benno here. Robin, is there a lizard man from Earth? Or is it extraterrestrial?
He's actually right here on Earth. They've been breeding on this planet for a very, very long time. Have they been also created by ETs? Yes, some of them have been. But we also have some that were naturally born here as well. Now, the one that I took in my the picture I took of the one in my backyard, I think he was born here. To my knowledge, he's not wanted to talk. I just got the picture of him. But most of them were actually here, especially a lot of your southern states where it's warmer, so they can exist more. They really stay hidden most of the time. They don't want contact. They really don't. They just want to exist and live their lives. They don't particularly like us at times, because our people generally try to kill what they don't understand. If you're a calm person, if you're not a person that they feel is a threat, they will still avoid you, but they will come and watch now and then. And that was the one that was in my backyard. He did not want contact. He did not want to speak. He was simply there watching when I got his picture. But a lot of them will stay hidden. They go back into the swamps. They go back, in the river systems, or they go underground. They really and truly don't want contact from us. We tend to go into their area more than they come into ours.
All right, let's go back to Joe here. Joe is asking, quick question, Robin. It's been raining here a little bit, but I have a whole bunch of apples and stuff to give the Bigfoot. If I leave them out, will they still get them if it's wet outside?
If the weather's not too icy cold, they still will come get them. They don't so much mind the rain. They get a little bit more fearful in the wintertime because it's so cold, but then it's more snow. But yeah, most of the time, they'll still come get them. Some of them, it just depends on who they would send up to get them. I would wait to make sure it's like a light rain. If it's wet out, they don't really care. If it's a hard rain, they're going to stay, in caves. They make underground tunnels, that kind of thing. They're going to stay held up so that they can stay drier, so that they don't risk getting sick. If it's a light rain or whatever, they may not be out every single day, but they're going to have to go out for food eventually. Mine still came up. If it was a light rain, I still got them to take stuff every single night, regardless, because they knew that it was going to be there. And I don't recommend everybody to do that every night. I shouldn't have done it when I did it. I was fortunate that I didn't have any problems. But I would try a small amount, Joe, and see if that particular clan would be more willing to. If it's not a heavy rain, yeah, they'll still be out.
Robin, we've got about a minute and a half left with you tonight, and another one that has flown on by, but we're going to sneak in one more question.
Okay.
Marv, in your experience, is there a good picture or image of a lizard man anywhere?
I don't think so. I think I'm pretty pleased with the one I got. He was blended in the foliage, but you could definitely see his head looked like an iguana, and it sticks out other than, the colorations. But I don't really think that there is, to be honest with you. The ones that I've seen are not the best, but I don't think it's because of the lizard man himself. It has to do with the fact the reptilian stuff really does not want to be around us. They just want to be left alone. They want to be out in the swampy areas, the riverbeds, that kind of thing. If you go in Texas, like at the Sabine River, there's a lot of talk about seeing them down there, as well as everything under the sun. But they really tend to be more reclusive. They are not an emotional based, even though they do have a little bit higher frequency. It's not as high as some of your other cryptids, where the higher frequency is a higher emotional base. They just like to be left alone. And I don't think there are a lot of really good pictures about them. The ones that I've seen, I'm not impressed with at all.
30 seconds. Tell everybody where they can find your work.
Okay. If anybody wants classes on all of this stuff, or UFOs or frequencies or whatever, you can go to my website, www.paranormal-empowerment.com. If you just have a couple questions or want to talk to me or anything, go on Facebook under Robin Haynes, Haynes, no middle initial.
Robin Haynes, everybody, as we say goodnight to her. And hello to Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal, rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAB, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on X at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and Bigfoot Broadcasting Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we're watching. We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night, everybody. All right. Robin, can you stick around for a couple minutes? Hold on. I got you on mute, my dear. All right. To the rest of you, tomorrow night on the show, Merle will be here. Yes, Merle. You guys got to Merle it up a little bit better than you did last time. A very disappointing lack of Merles last time. So, yes, I am going to give you a little shit tonight. All right. You got to be prepared to Merle the shit out of Merle tomorrow night. All right. Thank you, Vanessa. That's good Merling right there. Paramarv, you too. Get practiced up. Thank you to Trucker Andrew ×2, Cat Chaser, and Creepy Pasta. And we will see you all tomorrow night, everybody. Much love. See you soon.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.